Started again without the mic. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope everybody is well. Sorry, I can't tell you what I was doing. Sorry. How is everyone? How is everyone? Look, this is the show where my mate Gary's going to come on and tell me why Spurs are primed to be really successful and why we can't use the last 24 years as a reason as to why Spurs won't do anything. Look, we're here again. We are, let's see, it's the 7th, 23 days away. 23 days away from the transfer window shutting. And yet again, Tottenham Hotspur have done what Tottenham Hotspur do. First of all, we've waited right till the end of the window to do anything. Second of all, we've convinced loads and loads of fans that, you know, this is us. We haven't got any money. And what I love is the same fans that think we're going to be really, really good are the same fans that go, well, who could we buy? Who could we buy? Why would these top players want to come to Tottenham? Well, I don't know. Everyone's telling me how good we are and how good the stadium is and the manager. But apparently, a great stadium, great training ground, great manager, all these players that are brilliant at Spurs. Yet every time you mention a top player, not even a top player, every time you mention a really good player, you hear, why would they come to Spurs? Well, if that's the case, why did we move to the new stadium? That's all I'll say. Look, guys, girls, I'm more than happy for people to come on. I'm more than happy for people to debate, you know, because it's all about having the facts and having the evidence. So listen, what I'll say is my mate Gary in the chat, if you did want to come on, my friend, feel free. Feel free to come on. And I'm really interested for you to tell me why Tottenham are actually going to do things. You're convincing me that I'm wrong, that I don't know that Spurs aren't going anywhere. But it is what it is, right? We'll see. Let's see if you want to have that conversation. Solanke, this one cracks me up. The Solanke conversation cracks me up. Do you know what? We've been doing this, right? We've been doing this. Look, I've been doing this for years, right? Spurs have been doing this in every transfer window for years. And what happens is no one mentions a name. Then all of a sudden it's, well, he's the perfect Ange player. If this was the perfect player, yeah, if this was the perfect Ange player, right, then why did no one mention his name before? Why did no one mention his name before? Why wasn't this the one player that everyone was saying, got to be Solanke? It's got to be Solanke. But no, that's not what we've been doing. Everyone's been talking about Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney is the one. It's a no-brainer. Ivan Toney is the one. We have to get Toney. If there's anything about Spurs, we'll get Toney. He's the perfect player to play in an Ange system. All of a sudden, it's, oh, you know what? I'm not sure about Toney. By the way, I don't think either of them are that great, by the way. I'm not enamored by either of them. I want better for Tottenham Hotspur. But now we've got to the stage where it's, you know what? He's a perfect Ange player. First and foremost, can we stop talking about what is a perfect Ange player? This man has bought so much crap, right? Yeah, we've bought so much crap to this club under this man already that no one's going to tell me what is an Ange player. No one knows what an Ange player is. No one knows what is essential to an Ange system, right? Let's stop doing this, right? Let's stop pretending every time a player comes out. We did this earlier in the window with Archie Gray, right? An 18-year-old kid that most clubs would buy for, let's say, 10 million, 15 million. We buy him for 40 million and our fans go, oh my God, this is one of the best youngsters in Europe. Based on what? What are we doing here? Based on what? Now we've seen him in the last couple of games. The boy looks he looks young. He doesn't look ready. He looked awful on the ball. He was terrible in the tackle. You know what? Because everyone bigged this boy up. Everyone bigged him up to the point of this is a great signing. So rather than actually going out and spending money on a proper player, this is what we do. This is what we do. Then all our fans, not all the fans, you know what I mean? Then fans start pretending, right? They start pretending, oh, I've always said Solanke. I haven't seen anyone. I haven't seen anyone mention this man's name in any of my chat all summer. Now he's perfect. Let's break it down. I'm going to put this out there now so people can actually hear what I think about Solanke. I don't hate Dominic Solanke. I don't think he's a terrible signing. I think it's a typical Tottenham signing. I think he's okay. I think he's had one good year. I think he'll probably get 15, 16 league goals, 17, 18 if he does really well. And that's fine. But again, the question is, you've got those fans that just go, oh my God, Solanke's amazing. And then you get fans like me who have seen all this before, not just me, loads and loads of you lot in the chat, who've seen all this before and go, does he take us to that level? It's another one. When are we going to sign players that take us from there to there? When are we going to do it? So I've got nothing against Solanke coming in. Look, if Tottenham want to go and spend 60 million again on a player who's had one good year out of 8 or 9 in his career, that's not me making it up, right? That's not me making it up. He's had one good year in his career. I mean, he had a great year in the Championship. Sure, so did Ollie Skipp. Ollie Skipp was Championship Player of the Year, right? And we've now got a player who's had one good year. Look, I'm gonna bring up his stats just to prove this, right? He's had one good year, and all of a sudden, everyone starts pretending this is the guy. Now, don't worry, my man Gary. I'm gonna get you on in a bit. Don't worry, I'll never run away from a fight, and I will absolutely drown you in details about the club that I support. Look, I'm gonna let's have a look at Dominic Solanke, right? And again, I can't be clearer with this, right? I want this to be very clear. I've got no problem with Dominic Solanke. I've got no problem. For me, Dominic Solanke should be a player that Spurs turn around and go, all right, that's 30 million pounds. But when we're talking about 60 odd million pounds, and you look at this market and you go, 60 million, Dovbyk went for 25. Now, Dovbyk is much better than Solanke as an all-round footballer, right? And even if he doesn't work out, he's 25 million pounds. Sorloth, no difference for me. He went for 25 million pounds, right? This is where it's crazy. Then if you actually dig deeper, if we actually do the side-by-side Solanke versus Richarlison, their time in the Premier League, right? Have a look. Have a look at the details. As much as we can sit here and go, he's much better, is he much better? None of the stats and the evidence actually show that he is that much better. And that's not me saying I want Richarlison. But again, what we've got is we've got a group of Spurs fans that, again, keep doing this. They keep championing average players, then tell me, oh, but Sava, this is what's going to work. This is what's going to work, Sava. In a couple of years, we're going to win things. Eat, sleep, repeat. Right, here we go. So this is where people feel, no offense, you're chatting nonsense. Yeah? Let's have a look. When you're saying underrated, let's have a look at this guy's stats, shall we? So here is Dominic Solanke's stats. Let me see if everyone can see that. Right. Have a look at that. Right? Have a look at that. Take away the 2 seasons in the Championship. And this man has just about scored over 30 goals in top flight football from the Premier League and the Eredivisie. What is it that other people are looking at in these stats? I'm not making this up. This is factual, right? Have a look at this. Look, I'm not going to judge him on Chelsea. He didn't get a game, right? He got 1 game in a cup, right? He goes to the Eredivisie. He scored 7 goals. He comes back, plays for Liverpool in the Premier League and gets 1 goal in all competitions, 1 goal in 27 games, right? Then in the Premier League, he has 10 games and gets no goals. Then he has 32 games in the Premier League, 3 goals. Then he has 2 good years in the Championship, right? Look, first of all, just quickly, I know who you are. I am going to block you because you keep coming back. And I saw that you created a new channel yesterday. So you've got 1 chance. Stop doing this, right? I'm spitting facts here. Look at that. Take the Championship out. His seasons in the Premier League is 1 goal, followed by 3 goals, followed by 6 goals, followed by 1 season of 19. How on earth is anyone going to sit here and tell me that this is the guy that they think Tottenham should be buying? Right? Why am I dismissing the Championship? How many players score goals for fun in the Championship, come up to the Premier League and can't quite do it? He's had one good year. I don't understand. We're doing that thing again where we make ourselves feel better. We make ourselves feel better by living in denial. You're one of the worst. Phil COYS is one of the worst. We live in denial, right? Again, look, 90 goals is about as good as it. Yeah, one good year. And look at who all his goals were against, right? It's absolutely mad, right? How rather than fans going, I cannot believe Tottenham are doing this again. Instead, we go the other way. We start going the other way and we start praising very average signings. Now, I said, I reckon he'll get 16, 17 league goals. Cool. But that's not going to move you up a level, is it? That's not moving you up from where you are. So, again, if he signs, cool, I'll get behind him, of course. Hope he scores loads of goals, brilliant. But when push comes to shove, in the big games, in the big games in the season, when someone like a Harry Kane would do something out of nothing, yeah, in the big league games, is this guy going to do that? I've got no doubt he'll score some goals. I've got no doubt about that before anyone has a go. Because what will happen is he'll join, he'll score some goals and people will go, oh, Savasi scored. Of course he'll score goals. He's playing up front for Spurs. But is he the difference? Right? Is he the difference? I don't see that it's amazing. I just don't see that it's amazing. Yeah? Sean Sears said, if he had a second 90-goal season in Premier, you could maybe... I agree. If he has another year where he's banged in loads of goals. But so far, we've seen that he's had 1 year. And again, look at who those goals were against. I think he got one against Villa, one against Man United, if I'm not wrong, and the rest were all against lower teams. He didn't score against any of the bigger clubs. So for me, I just look at it and say, right? And again, the difference as well with football fans, right? No, again, Rick Rold, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. This isn't purely based on stat, but he's a goal scorer. This is your number one striker that we're meant to be buying to move us to another level, right? Yes, I agree. Stats have ruined football when they're used in the wrong way, but this is a goal scorer. That's his stat. That is his stat. It is goal scoring, right? And at £60 million, we're doing exactly what we did with Richarlison. And again, look, more excuses. Sure, that's fine. But you're telling me he's the guy to boom, right? We'll see. Look, I agree. I actually agree with you, big boss man, on this. We'll see. Okay, but he didn't last year, right? That's my point. Craig Huddy, again, for me, look at the difference, Craig Huddy. Craig Huddy's another one that comes in and trolls me. How much was Dovbyk? Dovbyk is £25 million. That allows you to buy Dovbyk and then go and spend another £40 million on a proper player, a defender, a holding midfielder, a winger. This is 60 to 65 million pounds. And by the way, when we're saying he had one good year in the Liga, his last 3 seasons as a footballer, Dovbyk has scored 73 goals in 92 games. He rattles in goals. Solanke's done it 1 year. Agreed. Solanke for me will grab some goals, Scott, but I don't see that he's the difference maker. Yeah. Again, Phil, use your common sense. I'm saying, yeah, this isn't a young player. Yeah. This isn't a young player. Phil, again, you've got the club you deserve because everybody is, but let's just see. Let's be nice and give them time. When are we going to be ruthless? When are our fans going to have ambition? When? This is absolutely it. For me, this is absolutely madness that our scouts can't go and find anybody. So we end up with 60 to 65 million signings like Solanke and Richarlison. It's madness. I'm not saying go and spend 70, 80 million on Gyökeres. I'm not saying that. I think he's a better footballer all round if you watch him than Solanke. But I'm not. Listen, our club, we keep doing this. We did this with Richarlison, and I remember having these exact conversations, guys. If anyone goes back to my channel from the days when we signed Richarlison, we were having these exact same conversations. Oh, but Sava, you're negative. Oh, but Sava, Richarlison's amazing. His stats have been absolutely dreadful. Why? Because you know what? He's not that good. Again, he got 11 goals last season, and everyone starts going, oh my God, he's brilliant. Strikers should be scoring a bundle of goals. A bundle of goals. This is absolutely madness. Absolutely madness. So if Solanke plays well next season, what do you mean? We're buying him now. We're buying him now, mate. What do you mean about if he plays well next season? Rick Rolls says Solanke is homegrown and proven, so obviously going to be more expensive. Sure, but not 35 to 40 million more. That's absolutely terrible business. That's absolutely terrible business. Like, again, sure. If this is what we want to do, people don't then come back and complain. When Spurs don't do any better, let's then not say why. Let's not do why. Now, party after party, I'm going to block you because I know who you are. So see you later, mate. I've got no time for you. And by the way, when people think that's harsh, I've been doing this a long time. I know who people are. No, I don't want you to agree, Craig. It's the manner in which you come into my chats and talk to me. I've got all of the evidence. Don't you worry, my man. Don't you worry. I see it. I see it. Look, for me, I don't get it. I don't get it. We're at a stage where we have a fan base that want that want average footballers, but then in the same breath, they'll tell me that Spurs are improving as a club. So let's see. I'm going to put the link in. Now, this link is purely for Gary, because Gary's going to tell me why Spurs are going to win things in a couple of years. So I'm excited to see how we get on with that. Gary, the link is in the chat at 19:24. 7:24 UK time. Please, as before, come on with your camera on. Let's have this chat. 40 million more than Dovbyk was the point, than Dovbyk. Look, at the end of the day, look, we'll see. We'll see. Gyökeres failed in what? What did he fail in? What's he failed in? I don't understand what this has got to do with anything. Savin, not one of our players with the calmness, technique, and awareness to score a Trossard goal. Well, listen, I watched Arsenal. I watched them for the first half in their pre-season game, and I've just seen that they've gone 4-0 up against a very strong Bayer Leverkusen team. That's the difference between Tottenham and Arsenal right there. Look, Arsenal have got a brilliant team. They're building the squad out. The levels between what they do and what we do is their fans have ambition. Our fans are in the gutter. And I'll call it. I'll tell it to people's faces. Our fans are in the gutter. Not all of them, but most of them. Let's have a look. I just want to see super chat. Mark Cook, thank you so much for putting the super chat in. Really appreciate that, my friend. Always been very good to me. Thank you very much. A user has said it's got to be Solanke. Yeah, he's the only one. Apparently, everyone's wanted him all summer. They're just absolutely full of lies. Lies, 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 and more lies, all these people. Big up to you, my friend. Hope you're well. Jerome has come in and said, I swear, Sava, I am dumb. That we started with strong links with Eze and Tony. Now we end up with Solanke. Average player, decent for his team, rubbish for Spurs. For me, I'm not surprised. Jerome, I'm not surprised. This is what we do, and it drags the level of ambition from the fans into the gutter with them. And someone who's about to come on my show, Gary, you are one of them. I'll fire the shots nice and early in the gutter. In the gutter, you're about to come on. So get ready, my friend. Jerome, thank you very much for that. Extravagance has said, why is it coming out that we are trying to sell Richie to fund Solanke? Do we have no money? It makes 0 sense. I've got some figures that are going to show why I don't think we do, because the club is run terribly. No matter what all these dreamers and hopers tell you, the club is run terribly. And I've got all the facts and stats and the data ready to go. Ready to go, people. Big up to you, Extravagance. I really appreciate that. A user's come back in and said, can Solanke or Tony replace Kane? No, move on. Look, I completely understand I completely understand, right, that you're not going to replace Harry Kane. We knew that. Harry Kane is a one-off. And that's why Daniel Levy's had relative success as Spurs owner, because Harry Kane came through the academy. He will never sign a striker like that. He will never have the ambition. He will never have the scouts that go out and find them before they turn into Harry Kanes. That's just the way it is. But big up to you, user. D&B forever with a super sticker. Big up to you as well, my friend. Really, really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Jerome has come back in and said, West Ham have signed 3 top players for not that much, and we are spending 65 million on Solanke. This is madness. If we want to spend money, why not spend it on Eze release clause? Jerome, because it's quite simple, because the Eze release clause will have to be paid up front, and Daniel Levy has zero interest in improving this team and winning things. I agree with you. It's gone from Eze. People were talking about Kvaratskhelia. People are mentioning Vlahovic, Calafiori, and now we're praising Archie Gray and Dominic Solanke. That's Tottenham for you. Big up to you. Thank you very much. Just before I bring Gary in, let's say, guys, girls, at the moment, our conversion rates are the same as Dominic Solanke's career. We've got 400 in the chat and only 100 likes. Let's get that to 250, 300 ASAP. Right now, if everyone would please go and smash that button just to keep you updated. Arsenal are 4-0 up in a friendly against Bayer Leverkusen. 2 very strong teams started by both. Huge difference to what Tottenham have been doing in pre-season. Guys, girls, I'm going to bring in Gary because I promised I would. Gary, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. Just before I get to you, first of all, Martin Walton. None of these West Ham signings will get into our team. Again, it's that sort of arrogance why we don't deserve anything. As it stands, without Solanke, Fulkrog's better than any forward we've got. Somerville is better than Brennan Johnson, Solomon and Werner. So, yes, he would get in our team. Rodriguez, I don't know. I just don't think any of our midfielders are that good. So, again, it's this arrogance. No offence. Big up to you, Martin. But this arrogance that none of these players get into our team. We haven't got a good midfield or forward line. So, Gary, earlier on today, you were telling me, and the reason that you've come on, you were telling me that you've got a, just quickly, by the way, sorry, please watch him play football. Please, this is embarrassing. Go and watch him play football, Aiden. He's so much better than Brennan Johnson. He is brilliant with the ball at his feet, brilliant close control. He can dribble, beat a man, has a very good shot. Johnson hasn't got any of that. So we've got to stop doing this. Guys, girls, so big up to you, Gary. Look, you were telling me earlier that you believe differently to me, that we're going about this in a different way to get to our end goal of winning things. Yeah. And that I can't prove that that's wrong. Am I right?
I mean, yeah, so I've spent the afternoon getting facts and evidence about the signing of Dominic Solanke. But my viewpoint has always been that you can't say that what happened in the past is evidence for what's going to happen in the future. That's an illogical stance to take. You can't say it, but you can't say 5 years ago we failed, so we're going to fail in 2 years' time. Like that's not a take that you can say. My view, there is no evidence that exists either way. You can't say that.
Yes, there is.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence that exists that we're not going to win a title in 2 years' time. There's literally no evidence. That's not evidence. That's not proof. You prove to me. If I was to say, prove to me Erling Haaland scores a goal next season. Prove it to me right now. Bring the hard evidence that Erling Haaland will score a goal next season. It doesn't exist. Because it doesn't exist.
Right, Gary.
You can't prove something that is going to happen in the future. That is either way. Okay. I'm saying you don't have proof. I don't have proof. You can take lessons from the past and try add it to the future. You can try do that, but it's just in this scenario it just doesn't work.
So let me ask you something, Gary. In business, how do you think companies project what's going to happen in the future?
Obviously they take what's happened in the past,
right,
and they learn lessons from it.
Sure,
and they take the data,
that's the only answer I needed from you.
And they project in the future. But are you privy to the books of Spurs? Are you privy to the plan at Spurs? You're not.
Gary, I don't need to be privy. Spurs are showing us their plan with their transfers.
Can we speak about Dominic Solanke specifically?
Hang on, whoa. We'll get there. We'll get Solanke. But you've just said, right? You've just said that you cannot predict.
No.
Right? What you
prove,
said you can't
prove.
Okay, you cannot prove what's going to happen in the future. I'll ask you a question. Are Spurs going to win the league this season?
I don't know.
I
don't think so. No, I don't.
I don't want disingenuous people on.
It's not disingenuous. I do not think so, but there is no evidence that it won't or will happen.
Of course
I don't know. I don't know. I know Spurs won't win the Champions League this season. I know that for a fact. Spurs won't win the Champions League this season. Okay, was there any evidence before Leicester won the title that Leicester were going to win the title?
Right. So, okay. Do you know what I love? What I love about fans like you, Gary, and don't take that in a personal way. I just love when I have these debates with people. What I call fluffy. It's fluffy, right? Because Spurs, because I'm always right about what Spurs do. I'm not wrong about what Spurs do. I've got all the data to back up. I'm never wrong about the bigger things. I'm not talking about this one player, that one player. I'm talking about the bigger things at Spurs, right? What people do is they come in with fluffy crap. No offense. So far, your fluff has been so fluffy. Will Spurs win the league next year? I don't know. Of course you know Tottenham Hotspur are not winning the league next year. You know it. I know it. My nan, who's been dead for 40 years, she knows it, right? We're not winning the league. You know we're not winning the league, right? So straight away, if we're going to have a proper conversation, right, you have to at least acknowledge that. Otherwise, this is going nowhere.
But that premise isn't. You can't argue. You can say it's You can say it's highly likely not going to happen. You can say I do not think Tottenham Hotspur will be lifting the Premier League trophy next season. I don't think Dominic Solanke is going to score 30 goals next season. There's no tangible evidence either.
Of course there is. Right, here we go. Tangible evidence. Tangible evidence
of what's going to happen in the future. That doesn't exist.
Sure. So I'm going to ask you this. Right. First and foremost, if we're talking about one-off players, sure. Will Haaland score 30 goals next year? I don't know. If he's fit, you know he will. If not, he can't, right? So there's always ifs and buts around individual footballers. Form, injury, illness, transfers, you name it. There's always things around a player. But around the club, you can't just turn around and go, you never know. And what people do, Gary, that do this is they always come out with the one anomaly that is Leicester City. Right? And what I love about this anomaly is people don't actually take the time to go and do their homework. What they do is they come out with fluffy crap like, oh, no one thought Leicester would win it. The difference is no one did think Leicester would win it. I agree with you. But that season, Leicester City weren't up against arguably the greatest Premier League team we've ever seen in Man City. And for those in the chat, arguably one of the best three teams we have ever seen in the Premier League. Arsenal, who finished on 89 points and are strengthening, right? Liverpool, who even in an off-season still finished third and won a cup, right? So Leicester weren't up against that. Leicester didn't have that to go up against in that season. They kind of ran away with it. Because no one was very good back then. So there is lots of evidence to suggest, Gary. So when I start with a really genuine question of, will Spurs win the league next year, and you go, I don't know. That's really disingenuous. We're not winning the league.
I'm fairly certain that we will not win the Premier League next season. I am fairly certain. Nobody can sit here and say. I'm also fairly certain that Arsenal will win the league next season. I'm fairly certain. If I had to give odds, if it was an impossibility, bookies wouldn't give odds. There are odds on Spurs winning the title next season.
Yeah, this is all fluffy stuff, isn't it?
This is why I said to you earlier, what are we arguing? Because this isn't what I've prepared.
What do you mean? What are we arguing?
What is the argument?
Gary,
because I've prepared Dominic Solanke. I've prepared Dominic Solanke.
Sure,
I've prepared an argument about Dominic Solanke.
Sure,
that's not that. So I've prepared to come on and speak about Dominic.
I'll speak about Dominic Solanke all day long.
So can we speak about Dominic Solanke
hang on, Gary, hang on. Solanke wasn't the only thing we were debating in my comment section earlier. You said to me, if I'm not wrong, and forgive me if I've got a couple of the words wrong around, you said to me, no, Sava, I'm not, what was it? No, Sava, I have got ambition. I just think the path in which we choose to get there is different to yours. That's what you said to me, round or roundabouts, right?
Okay, yeah. I'll hold my hands up. Yeah, that's what I said.
So my whole point was, what is that then? Give me that reasoning. We can talk about Solanke. Solanke will take 5 minutes. That's fine. But give me that reasoning, because what I love, Gary, is it doesn't matter what happens at Spurs year in, year out with facts. People will still come on like you and go, but we're taking a different path to get there. That path started when I was at college. I'm 41, Gary. That path I've been hearing about of we're doing it differently. We're doing it the right way. And we're doing it this way. The way you win things is to buy quality. Right? That's a fact. The way you win things is by quality. Liverpool won the league when they won it because they built a really good squad and they had really top players in their team. Man City win it every year other than that because they've got outstanding quality all over the park. Arsenal have closed the gap and are in a title challenge every year for the last 2 years because they've built a very good team and are starting to build a squad. I know we hate that because they're Arsenal, but it's true. But when we look at the facts, Gary, Spurs are nowhere near any of that. Those 3 teams are up there, right?
This is my issue that you
We're
keep
down
on
here.
saying. You keep on saying facts, evidence, facts, evidence.
Yep.
My premise is, and every time I say my premise, you run away with it, and then you harp on words that I'm saying. My argument is there is no evidence for what's going to happen in the future. There's no hard evidence. That is it. But if we want to speak about what the plan is, we can speak about what the plan is. But I would like to know what is the argument. What is the argument?
I've literally just told you, Gary.
So far, it's scattergun. No, just a simple sentence. What are we arguing?
I literally said as well. You said to me, yeah, that you
it
have
doesn't
ambition.
have to. You said it's just this is the argument.
We can have multiple. Gary, this is a YouTube channel.
Same...
I don't have one sentence and then that's all we talk about for my show, right? You said in my chat, everyone saw you say this in my video earlier, right? You said that you believe Spurs are on the right path and are going to win things, yeah? And you were going to come on and tell me how.
So can we speak about that?
And sorry?
Can we speak about that specifically?
That's what I started this conversation with. That's what I asked you.
So you said, are we going to win the league next season?
No. That came out afterwards because I was trying to prove a point that we can't. The answer to every football debate can't be, well, none of us know the future. That's a really pathetic argument, right? There'd be no football debates if everyone said, like, if I said to my wife, yeah, if I say to my wife, do you know what? Quit your job tomorrow. Why? Because Friday night's Euro Millions we're winning. She'll go, how do you know? Just trust me. It's nonsense. It's all fairy pie in the sky stuff. So talk to me then. Let's talk about it. Talk to me about this path that Spurs are on. Tell me how I can't use the last 5, 10, 15 years as a determining factor that the same thing is still happening now.
There's 2 ways, and you said one of the ways to get success. You will either buy in quality now, players who are quality now, or
Sure.
players who will become quality players in 3-4 years' time. There's only 2 paths to success, but it involves having top quality players in your football team, in your football club. No one wins a league with bad football players. That just doesn't happen. Right now, we are trying. We're never going to be that club who goes and buys a £90 million player here to fit that issue, a £90 million player to fit that issue, £110 million like what Arsenal did on Declan Rice to plug a hole. Who's the best player to plug that hole? Declan Rice. Let's get him. We're not going to be doing that yet. I know you don't like it if I say we don't know what's going to happen. With this potential investment, we do not know what type of club Spurs are going to be in 5 years' time. We don't.
Yes, we do.
But with the potential investment, no, we don't.
What potential investment?
There's potential. Spurs are on the market for 10% investment from an American buyer.
But Gary, we're talking about now. We're not talking about if someone buys us.
We're talking about what
club is run.
What the plan? What is the plan now?
Right.
You have to in business, and I don't know if you've watched that Business and Sport podcast that I don't know the name of the director, but one of our directors was a part of.
Yeah,
They
I watched
say
it.
you in business, you look at someone who's doing a similar thing to you, and you think, how can we do it better? That's how you succeed. You look at take an example of who is doing what we want to do, and how can we do it better than them. In the Premier League right now, who has done what we are trying to do? Arsenal and Liverpool. They're the two clubs, because Man City, we're never going to be able to emulate.
How?
What we're trying to do, we're trying to win a Premier League, we're trying to win a Champions League, we're trying to compete.
But again, well, slow down. First and foremost, I don't see any evidence that we're trying to win a Champions League.
I haven't got that. That's the ultimate plan. We have to at least agree that Tottenham Hotspur Football Club would like to win a Premier League.
I don't believe they would. No, I don't believe they would, Gary.
The argument that I am making that is, if we are to win the Premier League, look, even if you were to say us staying in the top four for 6 years, for a period of 6 years, that can we at least agree that Daniel Levy would love that if we stayed in the Champions League for a 6-year period?
Daniel Levy would love that.
Yeah, so Tottenham Hotspur would love to do that as well. And we're far away from that now. We're not even at that stage at the moment as a football club. So it would be progression as a football club if we were to make it to that. So at least there is a goal.
Progression as a football. No, that's not progression as a football.
Progression as a football team. From where we are right now, where we've been in the last 2 years, to be consistently in the Champions League, that is progression. Slight progression, but it's still moving forward.
But we were already there, Gary. We were there.
But I'm talking about over the last 5 years, where we are right now, what we've been doing for the last 5 years. That if we are doing that in the next 5 years, if we're in the Champions League every single season, that's progression forwards. We're taking forward steps.
Okay, let me ask you this then: if we're in the Champions League, let's say this season coming up, and for the next 5 years, Tottenham Hotspur finish in the top four, I'll play your game. Every season for the next 5 years, Tottenham finishes in the top four. Tell me what that does for Tottenham Football Club.
But that's not what I'm trying to get a level ground that we can both at least agree that there is some ambition for the club to progress.
No, but hang on, but Gary, this is what I'm getting at. If you don't answer my questions, this is pointless. Right? You can't caveat every question with, "Oh, but that's not what I'm saying." I'm asking the question because you'll see why.
What does it do? What does it do for Tottenham?
What does it do?
It brings in more money. It brings in more money.
Right. Okay. There we go.
And increases the brand.
Right. Okay. Right. So notice what you've said there. It brings in more money, increases the brand. I hate to break it to you, Gary, and this is the thing. When people know their football club, we've been in the Champions League many times. We've increased the brand. That's all we do is increase our brand. No, hang on. You said we increase the brand and it brings in revenue. We've done that tenfold in the last 10 years. We've done that tenfold. What did that do for us? I'll ask again. Listen to the wording as a football club.
But
football.
It's
not a business.
I'm not sitting here and arguing that it's a good thing as a football club if that is our goal. All I'm trying to do is get a level basis that both of us can agree there is some ambition for our football team to improve. That's all I'm trying to get.
No, but
for see, a football team to get to the Champions League for 4 years in a row, we as a football team would have to improve. We're not there now. We would have to improve as a football team to even get to that. And
all I want you to know is football team to improve or the financial side of the business to improve. Because
I'm talking about short-term improvement in the. I just want you to be able to accept the fact that us as a football team need to improve. There needs to be improvement to achieve Daniel Levy's goals or the fans' goals.
Sure, but Daniel Levy's goals are very different to some of the fans' goals, and some of us fans have very different goals to other fans. Let me break down something you've said so far, right? Which I completely disagree with. You said there's 2 ways to win a title, right? You said there's the Man City way where you buy lots of top players, right? You said this.
But
then
we're going off on it. We're not. Genuinely, the only reason I mentioned that was so that you can at least agree that there is there's joint reason for Daniel Levy to want to improve the football team as it is currently in the next 5 years, and for the fans to want the football team to improve over the next 5 years. It's not that. That's all I want is just a where we can both sit down and at least agree on that premise that there is. I
don't agree. I don't agree, Gary.
For the football team, in order to be that commercial success and to be in the Champions League year in year out, the football team has to improve.
Sure,
it literally has to improve.
Sure.
We're not good enough right now for that.
Gary, the team has to improve. This will come back later on when we have this debate, the Spurs are doing nothing to improve the football team.
And my argument is how we're at least trying to improve the
But
football.
we're not. But Gary, this is the thing.
I want to prove that. Now that's what I want to prove.
But Gary, you've got to let me get in a word, right? You said just now that there's two ways. One is what Man City did, and the other is what we're trying to copy what Liverpool and Arsenal did. I have no idea what this means. When Liverpool won the league, right? I'll ask this question. How did Liverpool win a league title?
I'm getting there. I'm actually
but you're not. No, but Gary, you're not answering a single question.
But every time I try go forward, you try go back to something that I'd.
Gary, I hate to break it to you. You know how a debate works. You say something, I question it. We talk.
The debate is about how we're moving forward as a football club. There needs to at least be some consensus that the football club wants to move forward. And I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, there doesn't need to be that consensus. That's the debate. You think it does. I know it doesn't. So stop trying to get me level playing field. I don't believe what you are saying. The facts show that what you are saying is not correct.
Okay, so as for us to, Daniel Levy would like it if we were in the Champions League year in, year out. Yes or no?
He would like it. I'd like to sleep with Margot Robbie 7 nights a week. Doesn't mean it's happening.
Would he like that to happen? Would he like the business to be a business that was in the Champions League week in, week out? How does that happen? From where we are now, how does that happen?
Gary, as I said, how does that happen? Stop buying kids, stop buying average footballers, and you're bringing quality to try and close the gap to the bigger clubs. It's very basic. This is what we do. We get a million people that want to argue this case of Tottenham Hotspur. It doesn't matter year in, year out. It doesn't matter whether you're wrong. You'll come back with the same argument. Year in, year out, we see Spurs have no desire to close the gap, right? This transfer window alone has demonstrated to you that we have done zero to try and close the gap. But you're sitting here going, Levy would like to be top 4. Sure, he would like to be. What's he actually doing to try and get there?
But in order to prove what he's trying to do, there needs to be at least a common basis that he would like us to get in the Champions League. And I'm not saying this as a.
I've already acknowledged this. He would like us to, yes. He would like us to, yes.
So, in order to get there, we as a football club have to improve. Yeah?
Yes.
Football team.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for finally getting there.
No. Hang on. Whoa, Gary. Whoa. Don't you dare. No. I said this a million times. You're not listening. Yes, Levy would like us to improve. Yes, to improve, we need to get better. You can't tell me we've done anything to get there, but you seem to think that this notion of buying youth works. I don't know why.
But how this conversation has gone right now is I try and make a point. You jump ahead saying, oh, but Liverpool have done that, Arsenal, and then we jump behind. But you said that all we need to focus on right now is establishing we need to move forward as a football club. Yes or no? As a football team.
We both established this ages ago, Gary. You haven't. You know what, Gary? You're a politician, aren't you? You can't answer anything. You can't answer anything that's being asked.
I'll answer how I think what the model is, what Liverpool did, what Arsenal did, and how we're trying to emulate that. In Mikel Arteta's first season, as the manager, he was and I've heard you say this in the past, that the difference between Mikel Arteta and Ange Postecoglou is that Arsenal backed Mikel Arteta.
And he's a better coach. Yes, there's many factors.
But do you believe that Arsenal backed Mikel Arteta?
I do believe Arsenal have backed him. Yeah, but I also believe that he's tactically a million miles better than Ange Postecoglou.
I believe that he's more fluid with his tactics and he's more willing to depart from his philosophy to garner a result. I do believe that. In his first season, part of backing the manager is getting rid of the players that the manager does not want at the football club. That is part of backing the manager, taking a hit on the players that the manager does not want at the football club. So in Mikel Arteta's first season, they got rid of Martinez, Guendouzi, I can't say this guy's name, Kolasinac, Socrates, Ozil, Mustafi, Mkhitaryan, Senslieber out on loan, got rid of Ainsley Maitland-Niles on loan, and
I know all this. I know all this.
and they brought in Thomas Partey, Gabriel Mari,
Right.
Pablo Mari.
Right.
That was their first season, and I think they finished 8th, 9th.
Right.
I think they did win the FA Cup, and I have
Yep.
to hold my hands. They won the FA Cup. I don't believe Ange Postecoglou's tactics are good enough to win a trophy, win a cup competition without being the best side in the competition. I think for him to win a trophy, he has to have the just out and out best team in the trophy.
Right.
In that second summer.
Yeah, but I need you to get to a point. I know all the players they signed. I need you to get to the point, because so far I don't know what any of this has to do with Tottenham Hotspur.
The point is, Arsenal had a 5-year period and they didn't see the fruits of the 5-year plan. They didn't see the fruits of it in the first 2 years. People were saying Arteta out in the first 2 years, and then you're finally seeing the fruits of it 3, 4, 5 years down the line. In all honesty, 4, 5 years down the line. If you
not 4 or 5 years down the line. They've just finished second 2 years in a row, and he's been there 5 years. So after 3 years, you saw them challenging for titles.
Fine, after 3 years. But if that's the year we want to bring, year 3.
Sure.
If you were to ask an Arsenal fan in 2019,
sure,
or 2020, where is the evidence that there's going to be fruits for this specific tree, this plan, 5-year plan? Where's the evidence the fruit's going to be?
I've got the answer.
The evidence is in the future. The evidence isn't in the past. The evidence is in the future.
Sure,
the evidence is now. Gary Hunter in this year has the evidence. In year 3, you finish second. In year 4, you finish second. That's where the evidence lies.
Sure, I've got the answer.
I'll let you speak. Sorry.
I've got the answer, Gary. This is the thing. Every day at the moment, fans with this opinion constantly comparing what Arteta's doing at Arsenal to Spurs. Again, shows me you don't know your football club. That's what it shows me. There is no correlation between the way Arsenal act as a club and the way Tottenham do. You said it yourself. Arsenal backed Arteta. Daniel Levy does not back managers. Arsenal do. Arsenal's old owners didn't, right? And since I believe it's the son has taken over at Arsenal, right? It's the son who took over from his dad at Arsenal. I might have that wrong. It might be his uncle or whatever it is. Since he took over, they back Arteta, right? This is the difference, Gary. Everyone keeps putting Arteta and Postecoglou the same. Spurs will not do what Arsenal have done. Now, when you say you don't know that, I have 24 years of evidence that this is how Daniel Levy runs our football club. 24 years, Gary, is a very long time. So all of these people that keep saying, but look at Arsenal. Yeah, he was backed. But look at Arsenal. Yeah, he was backed. Look what we've done with Ange Postecoglou this window, Gary. Hang on. We've given him 3 18-year-old kids, one who's still in South Korea. Not one of them's ever played in the Premier League. We've signed. You just said there about Arsenal got rid of all the deadwood. Ange has just got more deadwood in with Timo Werner. Right? And now we're after Dominic Solanke. That's not backing a manager to say we really want to kick on, is it?
So in year, I guess you could call this year 2 of Ange Postecoglou, because Arteta didn't have that first. Arteta came in October, I think, or December. He didn't come in. He didn't get that first transfer window. So in his first transfer window, the backing that he got was Thomas Partey, Gabriel Mari. In his second transfer window, the backing that he got was Ben White, Ødegaard, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu.
Right.
Ben White, Ødegaard, Ramsdale weren't those names when they
hang on.
They weren't.
Gary, you're rewriting history. You're rewriting history.
I apologize for interrupting you, but please, can I at least try get my point now?
I just don't know what you're doing here. Like you're comparing two teams that are backing their managers differently. I don't know what we're doing here.
The argument can't be they're good, they're bad. Like how is that an argument for dictating a manager being backed? In terms of backing Arteta, he had a window where he got Ben White, Ødegaard, who was just a loan made permanent, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, Lokongba. That was the backing that Arteta got in year 2.
Sure.
And they'd
Ben
still,
White,
I think
Ben
they,
White was sought after by most clubs, and he's a brilliant defender.
but that just like Archie Gray was sought
No,
out
not
by,
just like Archie Gray.
Archie Gray was being sought after by a lot of clubs around the world.
That's why the only team that bid for him was Brentford.
But you can show interest without bidding for a player. There's tons of players.
This is brilliant.
There's pretty much every top 6 team in the league would take Eberlich Eze at the moment, and not a single club has actually put in a bid for Eberlich Eze. You can show interest in the player without bidding for a player.
Yes, but again, you're using examples here, mate. You're using examples of Eberich Eze has a £60 million one-off payment that has to come out right now. How many teams can actually afford that up front? Right?
That doesn't stop someone from making a bid for the player. He doesn't have.
It does if that's his release clause. Yes, it does. It does.
If you put a price on your house saying I'm not going to accept any offers for under whatever the price I don't want to put a price on your house, and someone came in with a bid lower than the price or higher than the price, it doesn't stop someone making an offer.
Right,
you can just turn the offer down.
Gary, no football club is going to bid for Eberechi Eze for less than the release clause when the Crystal Palace have made it clear we don't have money problems, we don't have to sell. If you want this guy, reach his clause, and we want 50 million up front. No one's going to go, all right, what about 20 million up? Right? That's not how business works, I'm afraid. Now, secondly, Ben White, before he was bought, I've just looked, Ben White had a number of seasons in the Championship, plus a full Premier League season where he was brilliant for Brighton. So it's not the same as Spurs spending 40 million on Archie Gray.
Sounds like Dominic Solanke, who had an amazing season in the Championship.
Sure, but Ben White, when they signed him, wasn't 27 years of age.
Can we speak about this Dominic Solanke?
No,
This is part of the moving forward, though. This is part.
No, Gary. So, dude, you're not going to manipulate me on my own channel. That's not happening. You've made a lot of points there, which is nothing to do with Tottenham, and I am going to refute them. You can keep trying to stop me and moving it to whatever you want, but we finished the conversation we're in first. That's how a debate works, right? At the end of the day, if we're really, really, really going to be saying, look at what Ange did year one, look at what Arteta did, then you don't know Daniel Levy. You don't understand how Daniel Levy works as a chairman, right? Daniel Levy will do, look, most of us sensible ones predicted this window, Gary, before the window even bloody opened. We know how it works. Other people like you don't get it. You don't get it. So you can come at me with, there's 2 ways of winning a league. You buy quality or you get youth. No, that's not true. You haven't explained to me anyone that's won the league going through that youth route yet.
But I'm quite literally in the process of explaining Arsenal.
No, stop. Gary, stop this. I'm asking. Right, Gary, a debate is I ask questions, you ask questions, and we answer each other. Stop prolonging it and saying, I'm getting there. I'm asking the direct question. Name me a team that's won the league by going through this youth route. Please explain to me.
And this is why I wanted to put the parameters of
the
winning the league. I'm talking about progressing as a football club. That's what I said to you in your chat 5 hours ago. We're progressing as a football club.
Okay.
Dominic Solanke progresses us as a football club. I never mentioned bloody winning the league, did I?
All right.
I've never once said we're going to win the league this season. I'm talking about progressing as a football club.
You said we have to look at others. You've watched some business bloke talk about football. Notice how the business guy didn't talk about winning once. Typical Spurs, goes onto a channel, doesn't talk about winning or trophies. Talks about Daniel Levy's amazing. And fans like you go, oh, did you see it? This is how you do it. You said, not me. Everyone heard you say this, that there are 2 ways to go, right? You either go down the Man City route, right? By the way, Man City bring through a lot of young players as well, but you go down the Man City route, or you go down the Arsenal-Liverpool route and copy them with youth. I'm really not understanding how we're copying a Liverpool route, a team that have won everything in the last 5 years. What are we doing that's anywhere similar to what they did, Gary? Just answer that question. I don't want a long-winded thing.
I'm
Answer
not
that
allowed to
question.
ask you. You're quite literally. You said I'm not allowed to manipulate you on your show. You are manipulating quite literally
Gary,
every.
I'm going to kick you off if you don't answer questions. You're not answering
You're
a
not answering
bloody
any.
football question. I've asked a question. You said we have to emulate what Liverpool had done. I'm asking, what did they do that we're emulating? That's a simple football question. I don't know if you watch YouTube. That's how people interact. You're not answering any questions, Gary.
They built a core foundation, and then they got to the stage where they could add 1 or 2 players to build on that and grow. That's what they did. They built a core foundation of that squad and built on it.
And who did they bring in?
Virgil van Dijk, Alisson. I guess you could say Mo Salah. I think they would have afforded Mo Salah without selling Coutinho, but they sold their best player.
Virgil van Dijk, Fabinho, Alisson. They bought in Wijnaldum. They bought in players like Bobby Firmino. They bought in Mane. How are we emulating that? What are we doing?
Can I say now? Because I've been trying to say the entire time.
You haven't been trying to say, Gary, don't do that. You haven't. Every single time I ask a question, you don't actually answer it. It's really boring. You're not answering a single question.
What was that question?
Oh my good God. How are we emulating what Liverpool did to win everything?
We are trying to build a core of this squad that's going to be there in 3-4 years' time, grow together, and then we'll hopefully be at a stage where we buy 1 or 2 players a season for 60-70 million pounds that will get us over the line. That's what we're trying to do at the moment.
Who?
But that's why I said the premise of this argument is that you can't. You want to ask questions which don't correlate to what I'm saying, and then say you're not answering my questions.
Who? You said we're building
at the
Who?
At the moment, the core we've built, we've brought in Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven, as well as Guillermo Vicario. 3 core foundations of any football club is the goalkeeper and the 2 centre-backs. We brought in Destiny Udogie, Pedro Porro. We have got a back line, a back 5, who most teams in the Premier League would be comfortable having.
Right.
We've brought in a number 10 who is on the fringes of the England squad. He performed very well at the start of last season, didn't perform that well towards the end of last season in James Maddison. We've brought in 2 players in which we're hopeful can form our left-sided 8, right-sided 8, which is Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, who we are hopeful. Everything is about what can happen in the future, but this is a 5-year plan, 6-year plan, which is in year 1. My argument is that we're trying to progress as a football club in a different way, and every time I try mention where we are trying to emulate what this club did, emulate what that club did, this is the plan, you cut me off and you ask a question which isn't relevant to where I'm trying to get to, where the final destination.
But it might be relevant to what I want to know, Gary. But so that's not how a conversation works.
But we're talking about, and that's why I said, can we please actually put parameters of the debate? What is it that we are even debating? I'm talking about I'm talking about a 5-year plan. We're trying to and I'm not even arguing that the plan's going to be successful, by the way. I'm not even arguing that Daniel Levy's this mastermind and we're going to win the title, we're going to be winning Champions League, we're going to be winning Premier League. I'm not even arguing that. All I'm trying to argue is that I can see how we're trying to progress forward. That is my argument.
Can I answer that now? First of all, Gary, I'm just asking for an answer here. I don't want a long-winded thing. How many times have we done that in the last 24 years, what you're saying now?
No,
I'm just asking. I don't want a long-winded. How many times have we tried to do what you are saying now? 4, 5, 6, 7?
But that is so...
No. I'm asking a question.
I thought you just answered it. I thought you just answered it. I thought you just answered it like 5, 6, 7 times. Like it's multiple times.
Right, multiple
times.
Why did? Then you go. So why did none of those work, but this one's going to work?
I believe we've changed the internal structure of the football club, where football people are making football decisions about football and business people are making business decisions about the business of the football club. And I believe that we've tried to separate the football operations from the business operations of the football club. And that's why we're trying to get 10% investment into the football club to give more license to the football operations to exercise as a football operation.
So do you know what I just heard there a lot? This is what I love. Do you know where I know people have lost? You believe. I believe. I believe they've done this. I believe they've done that. I believe. The problem with your belief, there's no actions to suggest it's happening, right?
The internal structures change. There is actions to suggest the internal structures change. There is action.
But for the positive.
Pardon?
But for a positive.
How, and the reason why I keep on saying you cannot make any assertions about the future based on what's happening now is the only way we know that Johan Lange works as a technical director is if you see how his fruits have what the fruits are in 2-3 seasons. That is the argument I am making, that we are part of a plan. We're on the road to trying to progress as a football club.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to turn around and say, I think that's all a lot of waffle. I've heard all of that before. I've heard this under Paratici. I've heard this under Paul Mitchell. I've heard this under, you name it, whichever director of football we've had, I've heard that this is what they do. This is their plan. And you know what, Gary? Every year we come back and nothing's changed. Now, just because people come back and go, I believe that we're changing. Let me ask you a question, right? You've talked there about Romero and Van der Ven, right? Again, brought in by different directors of football, right? Same with Udogie and Porro. Again, they weren't through your mate Lange. So again, he's got nothing to do with them already being at the football club, right? We've got Romero and Van der Ven. We're talking, or you're talking, other fans are talking about a 5-6 year project, right? You truly believe Romero and Van der Ven are going to stick around and wait in hope that all of these young players who you've never really seen play football become really good and can challenge the top clubs? Do you really believe that?
What are we even doing here? I'm
asking a question. Answer the question, Gary. You're not answering the question.
Yeah, fine, yes.
Okay, so Christian Romero, who is 26 years of age, is going to stick around at Tottenham until the age of 31 to wait for Bergvall and Gray and Udogie to all become world-class footballers and challenge for a title. You truly believe that? Be genuine. You believe that?
I believe that, yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I got this right. Romero's going to be here at the age of 31. Someone in the chat, how old is he? I think he's 26. Right?
It's just what is the
because Gary, to believe what you're saying, you said this, Gary. This is the problem. You keep saying things, and when it's countered, you don't like it. You have said we are building a core, right? Now, if Van der Ven and Romero are that core, if they are not here, this is the point of this. If they are not here in 5 years, like you said, which is the 5-year plan, then that core doesn't matter. The problem is, Gary, is this. No club has ever done what you're suggesting Spurs are doing. No club's done it and been successful. But Spurs fans, for some reason, we think it's different. We've plucked Bergvall and Gray and suddenly our fans have gone, they're amazing. I don't think Bergvall and Gray are that different to other clubs, 18-year-olds that I've seen play. But for some reason, we put them on this pedestal, right? Romero, Van der Ven. I don't know how old you are, Gary. You've seen Berbatov left, Keane left, Sheringham left, Carrick left, Bale left. Hang on, right? They all left.
It's leading into. It's like you're putting words in my mouth, and then
you said it. You said they're all going to stay, and in 5 years' time.
But that's why I was saying those, and you don't let me go beyond the question. You ask a very specific question, then hold me to it. Asking about Romero, but you're. Is Dragusin going to replace Romero? Yes or no?
I mean, God knows they're very different.
Oh, why aren't you answering the question? Why aren't you answering the? No, it's a simple yes or no answer. Why aren't you answering?
It's not a simple yes or no answer. He's not the same.
Just like your questions aren't. But the point I'm making is that sometimes your question requires to go around the question.
Okay, sure. So now
my point about Romero and Van der Ven was that if Romero isn't here when he's 31, hopefully we've got to the stage, and it has to be hope. There is literally nothing else you can speak to other than hope. Hopefully we've got to the stage where the core is still a very solid core, and we can go out and we sell him for, let's say, £70 million, and we go out and buy another £70 million centre back at that stage. That is what Man City do. That is what Man City.
Not Daniel Levy. Not
Man
Daniel
City,
Levy. It all comes back to you're putting us on the same level as clubs that don't run like Daniel Levy, Gary.
And I've been trying to this whole time tell you how Arsenal have gone about their business backing Mikel Arteta.
Oh my gosh.
And you've not we've got to year 2 of Arteta's plan. That's as far as we've got.
Because Gary, you can go through plan 3, 4, 5. Gary, do you know Daniel Levy and how he runs this football club?
How did Arsenal get from 8th
God.
How did Arsenal get from 8th to 2nd challenging? How did they do it?
Because they changed the structure of how they run as a football club, and they started backing the manager. I don't know why you can't understand this. Daniel Levy does not do that. We've seen it year after year after year. Gary, look at this transfer window. Look at the window. Timo bloody Werner, Gray, Bergvall, Solanke. Not one of these players suggests Spurs are trying to improve.
I believe Solanke does.
Okay, one player
does.
In the whole.
And I also don't think Solanke's going to be the last player that comes in. I believe we're going to get Pedro Neto in as well. And I believe
a player who misses half a season.
I believe, and I think he's not going to have the issues to that extent when he comes to play for Spurs. There is so much more. Because I believe he's going to be in rotation with Brennan Johnson. He's not going to have to play as many minutes as he did for Wolves. But you can't just laugh at any single point I make about our football club.
Because again, the difference notice what you said again. I believe when he comes in.
That's
I believe the facts prove you wrong. The guy is injury prone.
When you talk about that's the only one where I'll say the facts are that he is injury prone. I agree with that. And if we do bring him in, that means we are taking a risk on him being an injury prone player. That is the one I do believe you can look at the facts and say he has an injury risk. But it has to be a belief, because I can't. I would be disingenuous if I sat here and say I know Solanke's going to be a success at Spurs. I know Pedro Neto is going to be a success at Spurs. I know Bergvall's going to be the best 8. I can't. I respect the debate enough. I'm not going to sit here and say that to you. I'm not, because I believe it's going to happen. I do. And I have that belief in my heart it's going to happen. I cannot say it will happen. If you're going to keep on picking up that word belief, it has to be a belief, because I can't tell you anything else.
I understand that belief is important, but do you know what's more important than belief, Gary? Actions, right? And actions are more important than belief. And the funny thing is, whenever I get somebody like you that comes on my channel, I've had fans like you for the last 10 years, whether it be on my podcast, whether it was now on the YouTube. I hear this every year, and it never comes true, right? It never comes true. But here we are again with another fan saying this new project will work. Let's have a look at how football works.
I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it will work.
I know, but you're saying it could work, right? We've never seen it work, right? You're saying, look what Arsenal did. Arsenal will run very differently to Spurs. Anybody that knows Daniel Levy,
can we stay on the Arsenal point? Can we? Because
hang on. I'm in the middle of a sentence. Anybody who knows Levy, that's not what he does. When I get people that say to me, yeah, but Arsenal got to this stage where they have to add 1 or 2. Yeah, because they signed really good players to get there. Tottenham simply aren't. And what happens is Tottenham have been through this before. Daniel Levy wants average footballers or players that might be just above average, that might do well. For example, Solanke could come in. He could get 17, 18 goals. He's done well. That's fine, right? The difference is you don't go to the next level. We never go to the next level. The difference is, instead of buying 2 proper midfielders to make the midfield really good now, we've gone and got 2 18-year-old midfielders that the fans are all creaming themselves over. Now, the problem with this is when we sit there and we say project, process, plan, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I don't know if we've noticed how this works. Top players don't sit around and wait for 4 or 5 years projects. Top players leave. So, for example, Van der Ven, if he continues with his trajectory, by the way, he's had 1 year in the league. If he continues with his trajectory and keeps doing what he's doing, Van der Ven will have big clubs coming after him and he will leave because those clubs will win things immediately while Spurs are still in this project that you keep talking about. We have seen that with how many top players at Tottenham Hotspur. This happens year after year after year. All of our best players have left, other than Son. All of our best players are constantly left to chase winning things. So this whole, in 4 or 5 years' time, they're all going to be here and they're all going to progress. First and foremost, of all those kids, we don't know if any of them are going to make it. Maybe only one of them makes it. Maybe 3 of them completely don't get any better than they are, because that can happen to 18-year-olds. To win things, you've got to buy quality. And at the moment, Gary, Spurs have done jack shit to close the gap on the big 3 again, right? It will be the same next summer. It will be the same the summer after that. This isn't what we do. So please stop with the comparisons to Arsenal. They back their manager. We don't. It's that simple.
And how have they backed Arteta?
Oh my God!
You ask questions. You ask questions and I answer.
Okay, they gave him Thomas Partey for a start. What a brilliant midfielder Thomas Partey is. They gave him Odegaard. Odegaard's a fantastic footballer, right? Ben White, absolutely solid defender, right? Declan Rice, solid player. 7, 8 out of 10s every week, right? Trossard, the chairman you're backing offered 11 million for Trossard. 11 million. They went and paid 22 million and got Trossard.
You're talking about players over the course of 6 transfer windows. You've actually genuinely named 5 or 6 transfer windows that's happened.
Sure.
We're talking about Ange Postecoglou has had 3.
Sure,
3,
but
and one's not even finished yet. It's not even finished yet. The one when you said Thomas Partey was one of the players that Arteta was brought in, that Arteta brought in being backed. Thomas Partey was brought on the last day of the transfer window.
Sure. It doesn't matter when he was bought.
We still have the window left. We could go out and
we do, Gary.
We can still go out, and I genuinely mean this. I've been trying to not cut you off. Every time I've asked you a question, it's been like 3 minutes, and I understand it's your show, but it's hard for me to sit here and just have you speak to me. But I need to respond to what you said. I need to.
Because you responding to what you said.
You've asked me how I said, how is Arsenal being backed?
Right.
How is Arteta being backed? I said that.
Yes.
How is Arteta being backed? And you've named players over the course of 6 transfer windows. In his first 2 transfer windows, he got.
I can't do this again. I can't do this again. They've changed the way the club
operates. I've also said that our club has changed.
It hasn't. Gary, it hasn't.
Football operations has changed at Tottenham Hotspur.
It hasn't, Gary.
It has.
Bergvall, Gray, Werner, and Solanke. This is what we do. That hasn't changed.
The football operations has changed at Spurs. It has.
Have the transfers changed?
The transfer window is not done yet.
It's not what I asked. Have the transfers changed?
I think Dominic Solanke is a very good player. Yes.
Have the transfers changed?
Yes.
He's not a Spurs player. Have the transfers changed?
Yes.
Bergvall, Gray, and Werner so far this window, and Yang, and the transfers have changed.
I grew up in a period where we splashed.
So I asked, have they changed?
But you want one word answers from me.
I'm asking this because Gary,
I said yes. I said yes.
Right. Okay. Bergvall, Gray. Yeah. Bergvall and Gray, Werner and Yang. I don't know how old you are, Gary. I don't know how long you supported Spurs. This is a Spurs transfer window. This is what we've been doing for the last 20 years. What's changed?
One thing I have to caveat is that the window is not done. The window has not been finished. So we are talking about players that could come in. We have to speak about the players that could come in.
I'm asking about now. What's changed with the players we brought in? No one can tell me.
We've transformed our data we're data led now. We are data led. We've gone and looked at which players fit
Timo Werner?
our system, which play, and Timo Werner. Granted, in terms of his technical ability, he is not that good a footballer, but he has been effective since he joined. He has been effective.
He hasn't been effective. Gary,
If you
you're
take-
waffling
if you-
now. No,
but
sorry,
that's-
mate. This
but
is
that's
very
not-
disingenuous.
It's not disingenuous. It's not disingenuous. Every time I mention something, you just say I'm this. And currently, I'm
Because
sitting
you
with.
can't answer my question.
What question? You don't like
Gary,
the answers. You don't like the answer.
do you know how long you supported Spurs?
I'm 25. I've supported Spurs since I was 8.
Right. Okay.
7.
So, Gary, you're old enough to have seen multiple transfer windows for Tottenham, right? Myself and many others are looking at this window going, this is what we do. There's no change. People like you are looking at it and going, it's different. It's data-led. Listen, you can talk to me about data-led, change of process. The only thing that matters, Gary, is quality. If you don't bring quality footballers into your club, you can have whatever data-led approach you want, whatever kids you want. You do not close the gap. It's that simple. The problem is what you're arguing now, I've heard for 24 years under Levy. I've heard this for 24 years. And so far, you can't give a bit of rationale as to how we have strengthened. Tell me, the 11 that starts, he's not a Spurs player yet. Right? Even if Solanke signs, he's had one good year. We'll talk about him in a minute. If Spurs don't sign Solanke, or even if they do, the team that starts against Leicester, what's strengthened from last season?
If Dominic Solanke starts,
even if he does or he doesn't,
do you believe that players?
What strength?
Sorry. I believe the team is better equipped for the system that they are being asked to play. Whether the system is good or not, I know you disagree with the tactics, but I think the players are more used to the tactics.
Okay,
that in and of itself strengthens the team based on the fact that they've had a year of that tactical instruction.
Sure.
And
have you seen them in pre-season then? Have you seen them in pre-season? Do they look like they are getting to grips with these tactics?
A caveat of the pre-season is that we do not know the level of fitness that they're being required to do before the games. We don't know that, and we look like we were on our legs. We were off our legs from the moment the whistle blew against Bayern Munich. We looked like we were off our legs. We looked like we couldn't run because.
So I can ask a question. If we were off our legs, again, I love this. Whenever Spurs do badly, the excuses are absolutely phenomenal. And that is why our fan base is full of losers. No offense. It's phenomenal. If Tottenham Hotspur were tired, why doesn't Ange ever start a different 11 in pre-season if they're all so tired? They only play 45 minutes. Why are they so tired?
I'm talking about why I think they're going to progress, why I think the team is stronger without the signing of Dominic Solanke, because he's not a Tottenham Hotspur football player. On the team that plays against Leicester, I believe is going to be a stronger team that played against Sheffield United on the last day of the season. I believe that. But there's no point speaking about pre-season because granted, it lets you see how the players are physically, but in terms of tactical instruction, we might, and this is a potential, we might get to the first game of the season against Leicester and Dragusin, Romero, and Van der Ven are playing, and we might get to that stage. Preseason may have just been there to get fitness into legs. I don't really want to speak about preseason. I want to speak about how
because it doesn't suit the narrative that you're trying to portray when it's not true.
But you can't.
Yes, I can.
You can't say. Well, I mean, you can say whatever you want. This is your channel.
It's not about my channel. It's my opinion. I can say what I want.
No, you can. Yeah, fine. Granted, you can say whatever you want. The first game of the season, I believe, will be a better team. You believe we don't?
No.
You believe we'll be at least we'll be the same team.
I'm saying, come the first game of the season, we might have added one player to the 11. One player. As it stands, it looks like it will probably be Solanke, right? How's that closing the gap to the big three? That's what I'm asking.
I'm talking about moving forward. I'm talking about moving forward as a football club, and
Me
I'm talking
too.
about
How does it move us forward?
There was 4 teams above us. There were 4 teams above us. Aston Villa was one of them.
Yeah. But Aston Villa were what, 1 point, 2 points above us. Us, Aston Villa, we're going to be. Listen, they've got Champions League. The whole aim has got to be, like Daniel Levy said, the guy that you are backing to the end of the world.
No, I'm not back. I'm
yes,
not.
you are.
I'm not.
Yes,
I'm
you
not.
are.
And I'm not backing
yes,
down.
You are.
I'm backing
yes,
our
you
football
are.
operations. I'm not backing Daniel Levy. I'm not
Daniel
even convinced.
Levy is the football operation. How do you not get that after 24 years?
I believe that has changed.
But
based
it hasn't.
on the hires that we've brought into the football club, based on the data-led approach that we're taking, and based on
what does that mean? What does this mean, Gary?
And based on the way in which we've been getting rid of players out of the football club, because Daniel Levy would not sanction a £17 million departure of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. The Daniel Levy I know 10 years ago probably would have offered the bloke a new contract. He probably would have tried to get him to sign a new 3-year contract to keep the value of the asset.
Like he just did with Brian Hill?
Right, there is not a single accurate source that has indicated that Brian Hill has signed a new contract. There isn't. No one has said it. No one actually has said it. And the club didn't announce it.
Do you know what I find hilarious? I absolutely find hilarious, right? Is Spurs must be the only club in world football that don't sign one real first team player in a transfer window to date, and fans come on and go, I can see what's changing. Let me read something out to you, right? Because I love facts. You're talking all with your heart on your head. I come across people like you all the time. It's all heart. There's no actual substance to what you're saying. It's all heart. I believe. As things stand, the team is no stronger than last season. As things stand, right? Am I right or wrong? As things stand.
You're not going to like that. I'm not going to say yes or no. But how are you determining strengthening?
Have we signed anyone better than we already had? It's really simple. The answer is no.
I'll answer the second question. Have we signed anyone better than what we already had? In the starting 11, no. But I do believe we have strengthened. I think we're better. I think we're better at playing the style of football than we were last season.
Okay,
whether you agree with that, agree with that or not.
Right. No, it's not about agreeing. Convince me. Tell me how we're better, because you don't want to use. Okay, here we go. Here's where I'm going to bury your argument. This is what makes me laugh. And this is why when people argue on feelings, they will always be wrong, right? You don't want to use the facts of pre-season, right? We're not allowed to use pre-season according to you, so we won't. So I'll use the second half of last season. I'll use 18 games of football to show that the players are not getting better at this tactic, Gary. Again, that's a hope. It's a hope that you think they're getting better. There is no evidence, yet again, there is no tangible evidence that you can show me that the players are now more comfortable with this formation, that they understand it. As the season went on last year, we got worse and worse. That's not the sign of a team that are getting used to tactics. The goals we have conceded in pre-season have been absolutely comical because the tactics haven't been tweaked. The players don't get it. You can see they don't like it. They don't get it. But you sit there and go, but they know it better now. I'm asking, based on what? I want evidence, not you feel. Show me where I can look at and go, that makes sense. There isn't anything.
We've had from the likes of Ange, from the likes of Dejan Kulusevski, I can't remember exactly what Doggy said in his interview. The players are stating that they feel more comfortable in the system, but when you can get upset and you can do the whole.
I'm not. Whoa, Gary.
I'm not
upset.
You can try.
Upset. Please don't tell me I'm upset.
You can try do all of this. I've been very consistent with the fact that the evidence you're asking for exists in the future. We can come and speak about it in 2 weeks' time and say, do we look better?
No. I asked for evidence for now. Gary, see what you've done there. I asked you, you said the players are more comfortable with the system now and know it better, right? Are you telling me that a doggy, Porro, Kulu, whoever's being interviewed is going to turn around and go, no, we don't like that? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. They're going to say the nice things. So I ask again, this is a really simple answer. You said we can't use the pre-season to show anything. So I'm asking you, what happened for the last 18 games of last season? Where's the evidence? We went like that, Gary. Teams go like that. We went like that. So where's the evidence that we are better than last season without signing a single first-team player better than what we had?
I think the squad is better. I think the first team isn't better. There is, in terms of quality that's been brought in, in terms of quality.
What quality? Where?
I think that, there's a lot of just picking up on something that someone said. Let me.
No, it's not. I'm asking. You said the quality that's been added. What quality?
Bergvall.
They're 18.
Gray. I think, but what in terms of the squad positions that they are replacing, I think they're better than the people they're replacing. I think Archie Gray is better than Oliver Skip. And if Archie Gray's sitting on the bench, I think he'll bring more than Oliver Skip coming onto the pitch. But if we're talking about our first 11, and I've said this, we haven't brought in anyone at the moment that strengthens our first 11. So I'm talking about first 11. As a squad, I think we've brought in players that are better.
So let me get this straight. So based off of 2 kids that have never played in a top league, that have never played a minute in a top league, right? Based off those 2 kids' signings, the squad is stronger. That is what you said, right?
Stronger could literally mean 1% stronger, by the way. It doesn't. I'm not sitting here saying we are mountains and leagues above where we were. The squad is league. I think we are slightly stronger with Archie Gray and Bergvall on the bench than we were. Sometimes we had Iago Santiago on the bench last season. Sure. Sometimes we had but it's such a moot point, and it does. I don't think it adds anything to your argument. I don't think it adds anything to my argument about.
It adds a lot.
No, we're talking about the first 11. We're talking about the first 11. And can I get on to the point about the last 15 games of last season?
I'd love to.
I think Ange Postecoglou's tactics got found out, and I think people discovered how to play against us. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I think that happened before the last 18 games of the season, Gary.
But it happened last season.
Yeah, of course.
And Ange Postecoglou didn't change that.
Of course.
Does that mean the players were worse at playing in the system, or does that mean teams were better at playing against the system?
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. I'm talking about the players being better in the system. And you're using.
I haven't seen anything to suggest they're better in the system.
You're using last season as an indicator that they're not better in the system. I am saying, was it that he got tactically found out and managers got better at playing against the system as it was, or were the players not getting better in the system? Because it can be the case where the players are getting better. It can be the case where the players were getting better in the system, but the managers figured. It can be the case where players.
No. But Gary, you watch the games. We were getting torn to pieces by everybody. There is no argument that the players were getting better in that system. We got worse and worse and worse as the season went on. Now, if this all ties into it, because if you're sitting there saying, well, hang on, this was the manager's tactics and he didn't change anything. Watch us in pre-season. He's not changed anything again, Gary. So, no, I'm sorry, you can't answer the question, right? When I said, are we better as a squad? And you've said yes, because of Bergvall and Gray, 2 players that you've never seen play a Premier League game in your life, right? And then you pick and choose which players, Santiago and Skip. Well, first and foremost, if Archie Gray or Bergvall are going to play and they're in the squad, they're not taking Skip's place, are they? They are taking either Bentancur, Basuma, Sarr, or Lo Celso's place.
No, I'm talking about on the bench. I'm talking about on the bench.
On the bench.
But it's genuinely a moot point because it doesn't really add anything to.
It does, Gary. It does. You said we're stronger than last season, And I
Well,
can't work out why. You haven't given me an answer.
I said slightly stronger.
But sure,
I'm not
I'm asking
arguing that
why.
we're leagues and bounds above where we were. And I said because there were stages of last season where we had Brandon Austin and Alfie Whiteman both on the bench.
So,
And I'm saying that Archie Gray and Oliver and Lucas Bergvall can take those positions on the bench. I even think having Archie Gray sitting on the bench is more beneficial to the squad as a whole than having Højbjerg on the bench to the squad as a whole. But I am seeing. Are you seeing this when we're talking? What is the time frame that you're talking about? Are you talking about next season, or are you talking about over the course of 5 seasons, 3 seasons? Because I am thinking about it in the course of 4 or 5 seasons, and it seems like I am not sitting here and saying that we are going to be significantly better than last season.
But we haven't done anything to be any better.
I think we are, and I think we're going to take steps forward, but it's hard to have arguments like this right now when there is still the chance that we bring in 2 or 3 quality players, and that completely changes my argument. But I can't sit and I can't sit here right now and say to you that our transfer window right now has significantly strengthened our squad and closed the gap. And I said significantly, I didn't just say improved, I said significantly. I can't sit here and say that to you because there is still time in the window. I also
every time someone told me the window's not shut yet, it's like Spurs fans. Do you know what? I keep saying this. It's like Spurs fans get to the summer, a button resets in their head and they just say the same crap the next summer that they said the summer before, right? Spurs can sign Dominic Solanke now. Brilliant. All right, Dominic Solanke, he's an okay player, right? He goes in up front. All right, he'll score the same number of goals that Sonny probably scored from up front there then, right? Sure, that's great. How does that change the way we play? How does that change our midfield? How does that change us stop getting caught on the counter-attack every single time Ange Ball loses the ball?
I'm not saying that it's just Dominic Solanke that has to come in for
us.
So
who else then?
I would like to think, and again, it has to be, and can we just agree to not pick up on? I'm going to say the word believe because I believe we're going to bring in the likes of Dominic Solanke, a winger. I hope it's Pedro Neto, and then hopefully some more legs in the midfield. Hopefully,
right? Okay, so. It can't just be legs in the midfield, Gary, because you've just turned around and said we're better because we bought Bergvall and Gray. And now you want another midfielder to come in with them as well, right?
I would like to think we were looking at the 8 to 6 market.
Okay, so another one. Okay, so in essence, the players you've said that have come in that you've never really seen play properly and have never seen play in a top game for a top club ever that strengthen us. But now we need another midfielder there because apparently that hasn't strengthened it enough.
I'm talking about the first 11 though. I'm talking about the first 7.
So Bergvall and Gray were brought to the bench. Is that what we're saying?
And this is why I asked: are we talking about next season or the 5-year plan? Because I think when I look at
this 5-year plan is made up. We can't talk
about
a made up 5-year plan.
It's not. But why are we buying 18-year-olds then? If we are buying and I'll agree with you on this. If we are buying 18-year-olds to go and win the title next season, everyone at Spurs has bloody lost the plot because that's never going to happen. That won't happen. That's the most stupid thing you could possibly do to try and win a title.
You said you supported Spurs since you were 8, right?
Yeah, when we won the league title.
You've supported Spurs for 17 years.
When we won the League Cup.
Right? You supported Spurs 17 years. How many windows have you seen us buy 18-year-olds constantly, over 18, 19, whatever, over and over and over again?
I mean, when I was 10, everyone older than me looked like they were 20.
Okay, but Gary, okay, so I've got this memory right there. Every single time Spurs buy youngsters, we get this. We get a fan who comes on and says 5-year plan, 5-year plan, 5-year plan. Surely you appreciate 5-year plans. I don't know anybody that's made a 5-year plan work through kids. It's lovely. It's pie in the sky. I get it, Gary. I get it that you want to back the club and I'm negative and I'm a terrible football fan. But Gary, the difference is I've got 24 years of evidence on my side telling me that what you are saying never actually works. What you're saying is, we strengthened the squad because we bought a kid from Sweden and a kid from the Championship. You've got no evidence that they've strengthened it. No evidence that they're better than any of the players we've got.
The evidence exists against Leicester. That's when the evidence exists.
It doesn't exist in
well, no,
one game, does it?
Well, fine. The evidence exists in 6 months' time, and then we'll know whether you were right or I was wrong. Well, that's when we will. That's when we will know about how much they strengthen the squad. Because if Bergvall produces a lot more than, let's say, Lo Celso did last season, then clearly he was.
Lo Celso hardly played. So again,
exactly. But that's exactly. But if Bergvall produced,
back them against those that played. You can't compare them to the one. See, so far,
you've done. Lo Celso was there. Lo Celso was there. He was a squad member, and he was being paid. If we replace Lo Celso with Bergvall, and he's got more availability, he comes onto the pitch more and produces more. He is an upgrade, even if he's an upgrade purely on the fact that he's able to play.
It has to be an upgrade on the 11. It can't be the upgrade of a player that never played.
But I'm not talking. I have said about 10 minutes ago that I don't think right now the first 11 has been upgraded through additions to the squad. I said that.
Neither has the squad.
And this is why it's such a semantic. I'm arguing that it's been 1%, 2%, 3% upgraded. I'm not saying it's significantly upgraded.
And I'm not willing to take your 1%, 2%, 3%. You're basing it on nothing. So far, if I look, Gary, so far, all of your arguments have been based on nothing, right? You're arguing that the squad is stronger, whether it's 1%, 3%, based on 2 18-year-old signing that have never played first-team football in a proper league, right? We've watched the last 2 games. Archie Gray has looked shit in the last 2 games. And you know why? Because he's a kid. And everyone like you goes, oh, my God, but we've booked these kids for the future and the 5-year plan based on nothing but hope. Bergvall does some nice stuff. He looks like a very tidy footballer. Another one, you can tell he's young. He gives the ball away a hell of a lot, right? They're youngsters. So far, we've strengthened based on 2 18-year-olds, right? We're moving forward as a club based on data-led, but we're bringing in crap like Timo Werner. I'm gonna read you off, Gary, right? I've looked at Spurs' last 40 just to make sure that I'm not going to read them all out, right? I have looked. See, but again, sorry, Gary, just quickly. This is what we do, see? This is what we do. Lucas is insane. Look what we do, Gary, to these kids. Look how they are hyped up to the point. He's not insane. He's a young footballer who's clearly got some talent. He's not insane, right? He's played some nice stuff. He's given the ball away a lot. He's a kid. Let him grow. Our last 40 signings, Gary, right? When you say we've got this data-led approach, we've got this, that, the other. If I go back to our last 14 signings, this is what you're telling me is part of our plan. You ready, Gary? This is what you're telling me. This is part of the
it has to be, but it has to be since the data-led approach started. Because if you bring in players who
and when did the data-led approach start in your eyes?
I'd have to go. That's not something I have on hand. I can find that out.
Give me a time frame.
Around 2022, I'd imagine 2021, okay. 2022.
So do you want to know the players that we've bought since 2022?
I've got it in front of me.
Pardon?
I've got it in front of me.
Right. So let's go back. I'll go back. Right. These are the 14 players that Ange has signed so far that you're telling me is part of a 5-year plan. Maddison, Vicario, Van der Ven, Dragashin, Werner, Solomon, Phillips, Johnson, Valise, Vuskovic, Bergvall, Gray, and Yang. That's 14 in the last 13, 14 months since Ange has been here, right? How many of them, right, realistically, how many of them are we going to say were bought on a data-led approach, yeah, and that really, really are going to work out? The kids you've got to guess about, look at the rest of them. Look at the rest of them. Then if we go the year before, data-led, you say. Gary's sitting here, everyone telling me, data-led. The year before, Longley, Richarlison, Basuma, Spence, Danjuma, Forster, Perisic. And then you've got Porro and Udogie were in there, who good players. But do you not see, Gary, for every transfer, there's like 2 good ones and then about 8 shit ones to go with it. So this data-led approach you're on about, and if I go back to 2022, which is what you said, Hill.
I said around 2022.
Okay, around 2022. Brian Hill, Emerson Royal, Sarr, Galini, yeah, Romero, Bentancur and Kulu, Bentancur. This is what we've done. From so far, I've read you out 30 footballers that we've signed since 2022. But you'll sit there and say to me, data-led approach, we're doing things differently. I've just read you a whole list of 3 or 4 really good players, and the rest are just kids and meh. No?
Part of the data-led approach is how they are going to progress as footballers. That is
all
part of that's part what I can't sit here and tell you, because I know Palatici was the type of director who liked the eye test as well, and I know that he picked players out through the eye test, and I know he also isn't employed by the football club anymore. So we started with some data-led with data, and I'm not entirely 100% sold on the data-led approach, because it has brought about players like Alejo Feliz, who I think is genuinely a very bad footballer, and I don't see him progressing.
I just named you about 20 out of that 30 that were genuinely bad.
But that's just one example of which Alejo Feliz was 100% a data-led approach.
Sure.
That was 100% purely on the data. For this, and whether you like the answer or not like the answer, the only way we see the success, the fruit, or the lack of fruit of this project, of this data-led approach, is what happens in 5 years' time. And we can shake our heads, and I understand.
I've heard this so many times, Gary.
And I understand that you've heard it year on year on year. I do understand. I would like to ask a question before I really do want to get onto Solanke, but before we get onto Solanke, what would you have liked to see this window?
I would like Spurs.
There's nothing. I'm not trying to lead you any. I genuinely just want to know.
I'll tell you what I want. Spurs needed to go and do what we needed to go and do. We needed a centre forward, right, that was going to elevate the club. We need a winger that's going to elevate the club. For me, I still think we need someone who can play right back and left back. Ideally, you want both. And I still think we need a number 6. Without a number 6, none of this data-led, none of this plan is going to work. You've seen how we play. You've seen how easy we are to beat. I don't know if that's part of your data-led approach that you believe, but you've seen how easy we are to open up as a football team, and the manager's not changing that. So for me, I wanted to see that. I didn't want to see more 18-year-old kids come in that everyone loses their mind about, because the problem is, Gary, and hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, that's answered your question in terms of what
I wanted to know at least what we're working with, because do you appreciate the fact that I don't think a 6 is completely off. Like, no one's mentioning the 6s. That's not going to happen.
That's a worry, isn't it? That is a huge worry.
Can you appreciate the fact that a centre forward, and I believe Dominic Solanke is that centre forward, and I'm happy to argue that point. A winger and a right or left back can still happen this window. Sure.
I've got no doubt they will all happen this window.
Are you annoyed about the timing it's happening?
Gary, I'm not annoyed about the timing.
Are you frustrated?
Gary, I'm not annoyed or frustrated. This is what Spurs do. This is why when you come on telling me it's different now, nothing's changed. It has not changed. This is what we've seen for 24 years. This is what Tottenham do. We will bring players in. I've never said we won't. You've never seen me on a stream say Spurs won't sign anyone. What do I always say? And the people that watch me regularly will know. My answer is always this. What is the caliber of the player we buy? Because the problem is this. If you're bringing in Dominic Solanke now, right? If Dominic Solanke's your guy, I don't mean you, I mean Tottenham, you're right. Dominic Solanke.
You can put me in there as well.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Spurs. Dominic Solanke is your guy, right? This is, oh my God, he's the best option to play Angeball. Whether I like it, whether you like it, whether anyone else likes it, shouldn't matter. He's been available all summer. Go and get it done. But Tottenham, because they haven't changed, unlike the way you seem to think they've changed. This is what I've been watching for 24 years, Gary. Nothing's changed. Nothing of the strategy has changed. It's just a different director of football taking a leaf out of Daniel Levy's book. If we get Dominic Solanke next week, you've given the guy no pre-season at all, right? And that's the guy we wanted. So if he's the guy we wanted, this is why I don't believe he was the guy we wanted. If he is the guy we wanted, right, why didn't we get it done earlier? If we want a winger, why haven't we got it done earlier? Right? None of these are particularly difficult, should be difficult transfers. We're talking about Neto from Wolves. I'm not talking about Vinicius Jr. We're talking about Pedro Neto. Dominic Solanke plays for Bournemouth. How can we not go to Bournemouth and go, boom, let's get that done? Because you know why, Gary? You can come here, and I appreciate you coming on, and I've loved the back and forth, by the way. And if I ever come across rude, it's passion for me, right? I don't mean to be
passion
rude.
for me as well. I like to interrupt. Sorry,
mate, I agree, which is why I don't take it personally. People in the chat saying I'm bullying. I don't feel we're bullying. We're just having a heated debate, which is fine. People in the chat get more wound up than people on screen. But the problem is, Gary, this is the same every single window. So when you've got to appreciate, next summer, I will have someone else come on and go, yeah, but Sav, give it 5 years. No one can ever answer me this question, Gary. If the data-led approach, as you said, started in 22, 23, when does it end? Because if we're saying 5 years from now, right, why not 5 years from when we bought Romero? Why not 5 years from when we bought Van der Ven? Like,
that's a very good question. And that I really want to dispel this myth. I am not sitting here, and I have in the past. Obviously, I wasn't on social media. I wasn't on YouTube. I've questioned the signings we've made in windows of the past. I agree. Why couldn't it be the case from Romero? Why couldn't it be the case from when we got Destiny when we signed Destiny Udogie? He went out on loan after. From that transfer window, why couldn't we have picked an approch and stuck to it?
Yep.
Because we didn't. We were so flippy. We were so flippy floppy. Sorry, I was just reading that whilst I was speaking. In terms of what the plan was, and I understand that it comes across as though there wasn't a plan, because in isolation, looking at Dominic Solanke, the first question I asked, the first question you asked, the first question every single Spurs fan asked is, he wasn't at the Euros. His holiday finished 4 weeks ago. His holiday finished 5 weeks ago. He's probably... if I look at his Instagram, he's probably been posting Instagram pictures since he's been back in training for the last 4 weeks. Why couldn't we have just gone and got him then?
Yep.
I believe there's no smoke without fire. So if there is talk of a potential transfer, that it's highly likely that I've sat here with my fan on the entire time.
So just let me do me a favor. In a minute, I've just turned my fan on. If it starts to affect my sound, just let me know. Yeah. Yeah,
we'll do. Sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought after that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gary. Can I tell you what I'd like to do? Tell you what I'd like to do. I'd love to talk Solanke, right? Yeah. But what I've got to do, I've got loads of super chats. Yeah, I've got to read them out, and then we're going to get into Dominic Solanke. Are you good for time?
Yeah, I'm good for time.
Okay. By the way, first and foremost, there are 612 of you in it and 255 likes. 2 people here have given up nearly 2 hours of their evening for you. Are you telling me you can't smash a like button? I shouldn't have to ask. It's the first time I've asked in nearly 2 hours. Can we please get that up to 400 ASAP? And subscribers, we've had 10 tonight. Can we get another 10 ASAP? The pin is linked. The link is pinned, sorry. Can we please do that? I don't ask for your money, but listen, likes should be nice and easy. They're free. Whether you agree with me, whether you agree with Gary, whether you think it's a bit of both, we're both giving up our time here, right? And it's all love, yeah? There's nothing personal, all right? Anna has said, Sava bringing the data analysis, doing more than Spurs are. Yeah, my data-led approach is better than Spurs' Anna, big up to you. I can't agree more. Thank you so much, Anna. Always showing love to the channel. Only One Hotspur TV has said, I'm so glad I'm not... Listen, listen, let's not be rude. If you disagree with him, you disagree with him, but let's not, let's not be rude. Jerome has said, Zubimendi can plug that hole we have and is so much better than Basuma. We have zero plan, no ambition, and it is the same nonsense every season. Look, Jerome, I agree with you. If you talk about a player like Zubimendi, our fans will give you 1,000,001 reasons and excuses as to why we can't sign him at the same time as saying we're on a good path. So, look, Jerome, I completely agree with you. Zubimendi, if he goes to Liverpool, that takes Liverpool even further clear of us for me. Only One Hotspur said, no wonder other fans laugh at us. Look, listen, I think they're going to laugh at us either way because we do believe a lot of really silly things. But, hey, it is what it is. Blaine Dever said, Gary, sorry, but how have we moved forward? We got to second in the Prem and a Champions League final. Since then, we've had 4 managers and finished 5th. Definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Blaine Dev, always very generous. Thank you very much. And again, we'll talk about this in a minute if we've got time. I can't agree with you more. The club is not moving forward, but we keep thinking we are. Anna's come back in again and said, we've had a 5-year plan for 24 years. This is where I'm at. 5-year plans just don't work. Too many players get injured. Players leave. Players don't grow as we want them to. That's why the top clubs buy quality now as well as the youngsters. Jerome has come back in. Loads of super chats. Big up to you all. Jerome's come back in and said, Poch had a 5-year plan and did not get back by Levy. How on earth, Gary, do you think he's going to back Ange? Gary, it's a great point, mate. This is the thing. We had a 5-year plan under this guy. There was a plan under Conte. There was a plan under Redknapp, a plan under Yol. We keep doing it and we never actually back them. Scott M said, what we are doing is not anything like Arsenal and Arteta did. This has no relevance. Look, I do agree, but Gary thinks differently, which is absolutely fine. DMB Forever said the last 25 years tells me that we won't compete for leagues and trophies. Sacked the best chance for a trophy in years. I completely agree. Daniel Levy sacking Jose Mourinho before a cup final summed up why I hate Daniel Levy. Jerome's come back in again and said, let me answer this 4 times. 4 times we tried this and every time it failed. Main reason for the failure is Daniel Levy. Can't agree more, Jerome. And finally, Jerome comes in and said, Ange said he had no power in this process of the transfer window. Another manager who has zero say in which player we buy. So let's stop saying Ange's signings. Look, Jerome, I mean, he says, this is the difficulty, right? He says that every signing comes in from him. I don't know what to believe. Big up, Jerome. I really appreciate that. While we've been doing that, we've got more likes. So big up to that. And we've got 2 more subscribers. Let's get a few more, shall we? Gary, lots of people are asking about Solanke. You like Solanke. Is he worth 60, 65 million? And why does he move the club forward, in your opinion?
Is he in a market, in a normal market? He's not a 65 million pound player. He's not. I would like to think that the club would like to operate in where you identify your target, find a price, pay the price, get your target in. I'd like to think that's how a club operates. I agree. I don't think that Dominic Solanke was I don't think he was a primary target this window, but I think he was a primary target within the next 12 months.
Right.
I think, and I can only go based on what has leaked out from Spurs. It's clear we had a massive interest in Eberle, that he was the guy.
Right.
I believe that Ange was given the choice. We can go and sign Solanke now, or we can try and see if we can hash out a deal for Eberle by the end of the window.
Sure.
It's become clear that Parish is not willing to negotiate any way around that release clause. And anyone who has any understanding of finance, especially in football, know that hardly any club has got the financial capacity, the financial ability to be able to spend 68 million pounds up front on a single footballer. Hardly anyone's can outlay that amount of money.
Sure.
So we've changed our target from someone that we plan to move on in the next 12 months to someone, let's get him in now and see if we can negotiate in good faith with Crystal Palace next season for Eberechi Eze. Hopefully, if he's still there. That's how I think that's the only logical way the window could have panned out with there also being a plan in place. That's a very hard sentence to say. That's the only logical way that there could be a plan with Dominic Solanke included in the plan, with Ange Postecoglou seemingly happy with how the window has gone. So yeah, I think he was part of the plan. Just we've had to shuffle in which order we get the plan.
Okay.
We get those
Can I ask
players.
a question on that? Listen, I don't know if that's right or wrong, so I can't argue that. I don't know. It's all theory. If Tottenham were a serious club and we really wanted Eze and Solanke, wouldn't we go and get both? But this again, Gary, that hesitation. This is the thing. Tottenham have never had a window where we go, come on, let's be serious. It's always we've got to, like now we're seeing, okay, we want Solanke. Funnily enough, now all the reports that Richarlison's going. So literally what we'll do is we won't spend the money. We'll sell Richarlison and we'll spend that money. So again, it's going to be, do you see what I mean? If we were serious this window, get Eze. If Solanke's your guy, it doesn't matter whether or not I think he's that great. Get Solanke. Don't buy kids. Buy a proper central midfielder that can protect the back four, and buy another defensive cover. If we're serious, Gary.
Can I just ask a quick question
Sure.
about both Archie Gray and Bergvall? I think some people tend to jump on the fact they think you don't like them, when I think it's clear that you don't mind us getting them, but you don't want them to be the targets of the window. You'd want them to be on the side, and you actually get those. That I'm assuming that's your stance on those players.
That's spot on.
A serious club. I think the Eze situation has been very difficult because of that outlay up front. I think a serious club goes and gets Solanke, and let's say Neto is the guy. Neto is the guy now, the winger. A serious club goes and gets Solanke and Neto. We will see how serious we are in the next few weeks.
Sure.
Can I just
say though, I've heard that if I had £1 for every time someone said that to me, Gary. And by the way, I don't think buying Neto and Solanke shows we're serious. So that's the difference between me and you. Like, it's got to be top players for me to move the needle.
But would you, if they are the players that, if we said that's my striker, that's my right winger, everything indicates those are the two players we want. 65 million on Solanke, 50 million on Neto. A serious club, that's how a serious club would operate. They identify their targets, get them in. So, if we are a serious club in the next few weeks, those are two players who've been identified that we go get. I'm very aware every single thing I've said in the last 2 hours can come crumbling down in the next 3 weeks if we don't act how I hope we act.
Sure.
Dominic Solanke as a footballer, how does he progress us as a football team?
Yeah.
I really dislike this notion that he's only had one good season.
But it's a fact.
When you compare him to other strikers, in terms of other strikers that there are on the market, they don't even have to be on the market. If you look at the likes of Alexander Isak, he has only had one season in which he's got 20 plus goals. Sure. And I would be so happy if we went and spent £100 million on him.
Sure.
If you look at Victor Gyökeres, he's had one season in top flight football where he scored 29 goals, 20 plus goals. I would be more than happy if we signed him. The list goes on and on and on. When you're looking at Dominic Solanke, I think it's very unfair to view him as view his career over a 9-year period, without taking into consideration that his first season at Chelsea, he was 18 years old. His
Oh, yeah,
second,
but no one's really talking about. Sorry, it's got really cold now. Sorry, but we're not talking about his first couple of seasons. Look, when you're saying it's unfair, the problem is these are the facts, right? The facts are he has had one good season, and that good season he hardly really scored against any of the top teams either. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, Gary, and I need to make this really clear. There's 604 people in here watching, right? And I'm not saying I don't hate Solanke, by the way. I don't. I'm saying this right now. I don't hate Solanke. If we sign him, I hope he scores 25, 30 goals. My worry is that the level that we were promised to close the gaps? Close the gap? And all of this comes back to, Gary, you've got to remember, I did a video this morning, you watched it, where the chairman has told us a lot of lies. We're going to close the gap. We're going to be one of the biggest clubs in Europe. We want to win things. The question I'm asking is Solanke that guy? Because I want to show you something, right? First and foremost, when we talk about Alexander Isak, you've got to remember, right? First of all, Alexander Isak, if we have a look, is 24 years of age, right? He's 24. And by this age already, he's already had one really good goal-scoring season in the Liga, one really good goal-scoring season in the Premier League. The year before in the Premier League, he had a 50%, one goal in every two. Last year, he had more than one goal. He got 21 goals in 30 games, and he's younger. When you look at a player like that, you go, I get it. Like, I get it. You watch him play as well. He's different. He's quality. Solanke, for me, just feels, and again, I could be completely wrong on this. This feels very lazy again. It feels very lazy, and it feels like, okay, you've had a half decent, well, you've had a good season. Let's get you in. But Gary, what we can't do, we can't just suddenly pretend that his previous 8 or 9 seasons didn't happen. Like, when we're saying it's very unfair, I showed you his stats. He scored 29 goals in 133 Premier League games. Now, I'm going to show you something, all right? I'm going to show everyone. And then, here we go. So, here, if we can see, let me blow this up for you, right? This is, hopefully that's big enough for everyone to see. Is that big enough? Want a bit more? Bit more? Let's blow that up to 150. Hopefully everyone can see that. Right. So when you look at Solanke versus Richarlison, what I hear now is this guy is much better than Richarlison. Now, let me caveat this by saying I don't want Richarlison, Gary. That's not the point of this. But everyone keeps telling me he is so much better than what we've already got. Right? But if we actually look, is he? Is he much better? When you look at the stats, now it's difficult because they're not like for like. They've Richarlison's played more games. But let's look at the stats straight away. 60 goals in 228 appearances is better than 29 in 134. Do we agree?
Looking at right. In a vacuum, yes.
Okay, in a vacuum or not, right? If you look at it, right? 23 goals, 23 assists, 13 assists. There's not much difference if you average it out, right? Let's have a look. I mean, clean sheets doesn't mean absolutely anything to me. Yellow cards, red cards. Let's have a look. Attacking, right? When you look at the goals, Richarlison's got more. Goals per match, Richarlison's got more. Minutes per goal, Richarlison's got a better ratio. Shots, he's always going to have more because he's played more games. Same with shots on target. Same with shots off target. Shooting accuracy, what is there? 1% difference between the two. Shooting success is basically identical. If you look at all of that, right? If you look at all of that, no one can actually sit there and say, this guy is a massive improvement because he's had one good year. He's had one good year. So I just wanted to know what you think about that.
With Dominic Solanke, he had 39 appearances before he even reached the age of 20. That goes into those stats when you're looking at minutes per game, minutes per goal. When you're looking at comparing how many goals they've had compared to how many appearances. Dominic Solanke had 5 appearances as an 18-year-old in the Premier League, 21 as a 19-year-old. Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. Domestic leagues. Sorry, I had his 21 stats up. He had 21 appearances as a 19-year-old, whereas Richarlison's first season in the Premier League was when he was 20, and he'd already had about 50 professional games. It's hard when you're comparing these players. You can't compare these stats without contextualizing the statistics, and then you have no without context. I said you can't do it without contextualizing the statistics, without adding context to that.
But what I can do is I can look at here. If we look there, right, no matter what you're saying, from Premier League 2018, the guy's 21, 22 years of age, right? So he's not a kid anymore. And he had 10 Premier League games and no goals. 32 Premier League games, 3 goals. 33 Premier League games, 6 goals. So basically what we're saying, this whole price tag is based off of 1 year. That is what we're saying.
But are we getting 19, 20, 20-year-old, 21-year-old Dominic Solanke, or are we getting a 26?
But that's not what I just showed you.
Which Dominic Solanke are we getting? Because if you do this with any player, if you look at Ollie Watkins, and when he was 20, 21, 22, he's playing in the Championship and being a poor player in the Championship. Are you going to add those stats, those seasons, which he was a footballer in those seasons? Are you going to add those stats to bolster his career now? I would love Ollie Watt. I think Ollie Watt, out of any striker who's actually playing world football, who would be relatively realistic to play for Spurs, Ollie Watkins probably would be the best striker we could go out and get. He's never gonna leave, especially now. Never gonna leave Aston Villa to come to Spurs, especially now. But if you're taking in the formative years of these players,
but I'm not. But Gary, that's a lie. I'm not.
But,
Gary, look.
But when you,
I'm showing you right there. I'm showing you right there. Look, how old was he 4 years ago? Right.
What season are we talking about?
Well, look, 32 Premier League games in 2019, 2020.
He started that season as a 21-year-old. He started that season as a 21-year-old.
He couldn't have started that season as a 21-year-old. He's 27 next month, and that wasn't 6 years ago.
I think he starts the season as, because he would have been 21 in August, and then so technically 22-year-old. It's semantics.
But Gary, have you noticed? This is the problem. You know when they say facts don't care about feelings? There's too many feelings here. But what I could do, Gary,
what are the facts? The facts need to be contextualized, because here's a fact for you. Here is a cast iron fact.
Go on.
Ivan Toney scored 4 goals last season. He is awful. He scored 4 goals last season.
What's Ivan Toney got to do with anything?
He's a striker in the Premier League.
Sure.
And I'm making an opinion on him based on last season. He scored 4 goals. Don't think he's that good.
Well, but sure. But the year before, everyone was wetting themselves over him. So doesn't that go to show that a player can have a really good year and isn't actually that good?
It's going to show that you need to put context into the situation. There's a very valid reason as to why Ivan Toney.
Gary, hang on. Listen, at some point we have to put the facts into the situation.
We do, but with context.
The player has had 1 good year. It doesn't matter how you want to spin that. It doesn't matter what manipulative tactics you've got to try and pretend. The facts are right there in front of you on the screen. He has had 1 year. 1 year of being prolific.
What strikers are there right now that you would prefer over Solanke?
Hang on. We'll get to that in a minute. But he's had 1 year of being prolific. Now he's worth 65 million, right? If I look at Richarlison's stats, now, by the way, anyone in the chat, I see people saying it, right? Not understanding. I don't want Richarlison. My point is, this guy isn't that much better than Richarlison. His numbers that he's put up. Bearing in mind, Richarlison spent a lot of his time in the Premier League on the left wing, Gary. Solanke hasn't. Richarlison spent a lot of time on the left wing, and all of his numbers are similar or better than Solanke's. This is my problem. We're doing it again. I heard all of this with Richarlison, Gary. Everyone gave it the big one with Richarlison, and look how bad he is. Do you know why? Sometimes there's more to being a centre forward than having one prolific season. Right?
Sometimes there's more to being a striker than just the goals that you score. He scored 19 goals last season, but that's not all that he did. Judging him based on a 19-goal season, completely disregard some of the best attributes that he had, some of the best aspects of this game. In terms of pressing numbers, he was the best presser in the Premier League last season. He played 38 games last season and only came off the bench once. That by itself gives you a consistent striker. He's played a 46 game season in the Championship. He is available. He played 33 games.
We're not talking about availability here, are we? We're talking about, does this man move Tottenham on? Look,
in terms of 27-year-old Dominic Solanke, in terms of the player we are getting right now, he improves the team if he comes in. Dominic Solanke right now improves the team. And I don't think some people in the chat are understanding that point about Ivan Toney. I am well aware Ivan Toney got banned. The reason I brought it up is to say, if you bring up a fact without contextualizing it, it looks stupid. I'm not sitting here saying I think you got that. I don't think the chat got that. But I'm not saying that Ivan Toney's a bad player because he scored 4 goals. That's not my point. I
get that, but I think the difficult thing here is we're talking about strikers. We're talking about centre forwards, right? Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, I'm not saying he's the worst player out there. But Gary, whether you said you liked him or not before, what makes me laugh is most of this fan base has done what they normally do, right? People in the chat that are being rude, stop it, or I will block you immediately. All right, stop it. We're doing what we normally do, Gary. No one talked about this guy. Now, I'm not saying you. Everyone is now going, this is the best we can get. This is the best we can get. Why didn't anyone mention him? Why was no one mentioning him? Do you know what this reminds me of, Gary? It reminds me of the January window where I was told, Werner's crap. Man United are buying Timo Werner. He's rubbish. 2 days later, we sign him for he was the best available. Like, that's what we do, right? We go from these are the players we want to now suddenly praising these players who we didn't want at all. And my worry is he might improve us slightly. Does he improve us to the point where for your 5-year plan that he makes the big difference in the big games? I don't know is my honest answer. So if he comes in, don't get me wrong. I absolutely detested the idea of bringing in Richarlison, by the way. Right? I detested it. And I stand by that. I don't detest the idea of Solanke. Just for me, when I look at the strikers I've seen at Tottenham Hotspur in the last 15, 20 years, and now I think that we're going to pay 60 million for Solanke, it just makes me feel a little bit, this is where Spurs are heading as a club. Because, Gary, let me ask you this. If Villa, if Newcastle, if Chelsea, if any of these had signed Solanke, what would our fans be saying? Be honest, what would our fans be saying?
I can't. I don't know.
You can. Come on, you know Spurs fans well enough by now. What would we be saying? No one would be going, oh, that's a brilliant signing. We'd all be going, he's only had one good season. Oh, my God, look how bad they are. God, look at the signing they're making. But when we do it, we suddenly praised it. You've done it today with Graham Bergvall. You've done it today with Graham Bergvall. If Arsenal would sign Graham Bergvall, no one's talking about them in the raptures that we are.
But I'm a very... I don't put on my Spurs tinted goggles when I look at other football clubs. So I can't. I would have said Arsenal got a very good player in Archie Gray. I also think I actually said I think Brentford is the best place for Archie Gray. And I think that probably was the best place for him to go. I'm surprised he came to Spurs, but I think a place like Brentford where there's a lot less pressure on him, a lot more time for him to grow, would have been the perfect place for him.
Sure, but you get my point. You get my point, right?
It's hard for me to put myself in the head of an average Spurs fan. It's so I can't really say. I would hope to think.
You can look at the chat. You can go into any Spurs YouTube channel and watch how everyone creams their pants over anyone we sign. Right? The moment
I'm talking about other play, like if someone signs for another team, I'd like to think that.
Sure, but look what our fans do immediately. Calafiori, for example. Calafiori. As soon as he signed for Arsenal, all of our fans started going, oh God, he's not done a lot, blah, blah, blah. All our fans wanted Calafiori.
I guess I don't converse with fans who, like, the people I spoke to said Arsenal got a very good player in Calafiori. So if I'm sure every fan base has those types of fans who, anytime someone signs a player, they're the worst player in the world. If they sign a player, they're the best player in the world. That's just typical like football fandom, not necessarily.
Sure.
That happens across the board. If Dominic Solanke signed for the likes of West Ham, signed for the likes of Arsenal, I would sit there and think they've got a good player in Dominic Solanke. Let's see how he does, which is exactly what I would say if he signed for Spurs. I'd like to ask a question though, in terms of, because you've mentioned other clubs.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Nicholas Füllkrug as a player? Would you have preferred him over the likes of Dominic Solanke at our football club? And I'm not trying to track that; it's just a question.
No, I wouldn't have preferred him over Dominic Solanke. I think that Füllkrug's a good player who I think is perfectly suited to strengthening West Ham. I think if you look at what they're doing there, right? Look at Bowen. Bowen, do you agree Bowen's really quick?
Really quick, yeah. I think Bowen's
Bowen's really quick and tricky, right? Crescencio Somerville is really quick and tricky. Kudus is really quick and tricky. You know what? You can see it right now. For anyone that hasn't watched Füllkrug, they're going to put the ball into Füllkrug, and they're going to have all those free players swarming around him, Gary. They'll be his legs. They'll do all the running. He'll play them in. He'll hold the ball up. He'll knock it down for them. For West Ham, and this is where people don't listen, Gary. This is why I have to. So I'm not trying to condescend you. People don't listen. For West Ham, I think he's a brilliant signing. Right? I think it's everything they need. They haven't had a centre forward for ages, and I think he's brilliant in terms of what they need. As is Somerville. By the way, I would have had Somerville. I think he's a fantastic winger, right? But West Ham are buying. For me, the difference is what we've bought so far, I think keeps us here. What West Ham have bought takes them there. Not above us, but takes them as a club better, right? And that's the difference, is it's all context to each club. And I think they're strengthening for them. Kilman, much better than what they already had at the back. Yeah? Somerville.
With the striker search, it seems to be the case where you believe a striker who's not necessarily the most talented striker, but could be a perfect striker for that specific style of play.
Yep.
Nicholas Füllkrug falls into the similar bracket where he's only had one really good season in his entire career.
Sure.
But him coming into West Ham can be the key to elevate them.
Agree.
The style of striker that, I know you don't like Ange Ball, the style of striker that Ange Ball requires.
Yeah, this is where you've lost me. I don't know what Ange Ball is.
We need a forward that's willing to relentlessly press. And we've gone out and got the best forward who's at relentlessly pressing in the league, who's also scored goals this season. That's who we've identified him as the best pressing forward in the Premier League. He can also the best press. He is not literally number one in the pressing stats in the league. Literally number one.
Yeah, so I'm saying, did we identify him for that reason? I'm not sure we did.
I think we've had
all summer, Gary.
But I think that's where the Eberlich Eze situation came in. I think we identified Eze as a player that does genuinely.
One's a striker and one isn't. So what bearing does it have on the other one?
the money that's involved. If we bring in Ebrilichi Eze,
Right.
but that takes away your funds to be able
that
to
brings
do.
us full circle into why we've got no ambition, like I said.
But as in Ebrilichi Eze, the money required up front, it prevents you from doing other smaller deals, because you might have 5 deals lined up where they all require £10 million up front. So that's only if they might, but their entire overlay might be 250 million pounds worth, but that you might require 50 million pounds up front. Where Ebrilichi Eze requires you to do 68 million pounds up front. That could sanction
Gary, you've answered your own question again, right? Spurs knew how much that to pay for Eze up front. We knew whether we were going to pay it or not. So why have we waited till now to pay for Solanke? We know we're not going to pay it. I'll tell you what, if Daniel Levy gets Eze into this football club, a player we should be getting, by the way, before everyone makes it out to be world class, I will come on and go, I'm wrong, he got it done. But they've known all window how much it costs to get Eze out of his thing. Forget whether he's at the Euros or not, right? They'll talk to his agent. They'll talk to Palace. Right, hang on, you want 50 million up front. Spurs will know that. Right, okay, well, look, we can't get Eze, guys. Let's go and get Solanke in for the season. But we didn't. And again, there's excuses as to why. It's always an excuse. Always an excuse as to why we don't do it.
With this one, I think there can be a reason rather than the excuse. Would you prefer your manager to jump away from his primary target at the first hurdle? Or is
hang on, Gary. No, I'm not having this. That's not a small hurdle, is it?
First hurdle. For not small hurdle, first hurdle.
Okay, so what's the first hurdle in the Eze deal?
If this is a hypothetical situation, this question I'm going to ask you is hypothetical. If Daniel Levy had said to Postecoglou, we are going to try our hardest to reach a structure which might be more than the release clause, but it's in a way that we can actually structure the payment to fit into our accounting. However, it's going to take time to try and negotiate and try and find a payment structure, and it's going to take the window. Are you prepared to sit and wait to see if that can happen?
Come on.
Or would you like us to go get Dominic Solanke now? Postecoglou may well have said, let's wait and see if we can get Eze. If we can't get Eze, we'll jump on.
But Gary, I love this hypothetical, but that's not true. Crystal Palace want 50 million up front, whatever it's 45, 50 million up front, right? They've made that very clear. They don't need to sell. So Daniel Levy's not an idiot. He would know that, right? The problem is, Gary, with the excuses that you're making, everything we're seeing is very consistent with a normal standard Tottenham window. This is why when you've sat here and said things are changing and Lange's there now and a data letter, the same pattern is going over and over and over again. So I need to see evidence that is changing, not just people believing. This is why when people use the word believe, Gary, the reason I find it funny is because you've got all the evidence there. You've got all the evidence. Do you know what Spurs do? I put some details together this morning, right? Do you know in the last 6 years, if we go from 2019, and the reason I used that day was that time frame was the Champions League final. Do you know how much money Spurs have spent less than Man City since the Champions League final?
I wouldn't be surprised if we spent more.
We haven't. We've spent less.
But I don't think it's in a similar ballpark in terms of outlay. Yeah, I'd imagine it's a similar ballpark.
Yeah. So Spurs have spent 50 million less than Man City. 50. We're talking about Richarlison, right? Yeah. We're talking about the fee of a Richarlison, right? But do you know the difference? Is Man City don't spend loads and loads and loads of money on crap footballers that they have to move on in a couple of years, right? And this is the difference. When we're talking about a plan, and it's not just Man City I've done, by the way. They were the last team I've done. It's not just a plan, Gary. It's about quality. Different.
I agree.
They brought in quality. Do you want to know the difference between us and Liverpool?
I think we spent more, probably.
Spurs have spent £312 million more than Liverpool in 6 years. Right, 5 years. In that 5 years, do you know what Liverpool have won?
The Champions League,
The Premier League, the UEFA Club
Europe,
Cup, the FA Cup,
probably
the
everything.
League
Probably
Cup.
everything.
Right? Do you know why? Because Gary, the difference is when you said that this brings this whole thing back circle, right? When we sit there and go, we're trying to emulate what the likes of Liverpool did. Liverpool don't go and spend 40 million on a kid and never play him, right? Liverpool don't go and buy 1 million 18-year-olds and tell everyone that there's a 5-year plan, right? Liverpool actually go, what do we need? Oh, we need a whole midfield. Boom, boom, boom. We'll get a midfield. Oh, we need a centre-back. Boom. We need a boom. Spurs don't do that. And this brings me full circle, Gary. This is why this process, this 5-year plan that we're making up, this new structure, this data-led approach, these clubs that win and challenge by quality. Spurs spend as much as these clubs, right? But by quantity. If that isn't a driver into how Spurs operate, right? If that isn't a driver to how Spurs operate, I don't know what is. We keep doing this. We buy 7 or 8 players a window. Notice these other clubs don't do that. They buy what they need. First and foremost, right? Liverpool paid 80 million for Núñez, who they want out, and the same for Szoboszlai. First and foremost, you have no idea that Liverpool want to get rid of Núñez and Szoboszlai. I haven't seen one report saying that they're leaving the club. And if you actually look at Núñez's stats across the 2 seasons, he's got very, very good stats, and he keeps helping them win trophies. Right? So, Eugene, give it a rest. They win trophies. They back their manager. They win trophies. So please stop being disingenuous. Right? My point is this, Gary. Across those years, right? And by the way, just to give context, right? In that time, Liverpool have recouped £201 million in sales. So their total layout, right, was £226 million. £226 million. Spurs have recouped £287 million in that time. So our layout is 452 million. Right? 452 million compared to their 226. So why do they win something nearly every season? Why do we not? Gary, it's quality. They buy quality footballers. Spurs do not. We buy good players at times that our fans really overhype and pretend are quality. But these clubs, more often than not, buy quality.
I am not going to sit here and argue that what we've done in the past, what we did from 2019 to 2020, 2021, 2022 has been amazing. It hasn't. And in all honesty, we don't even need to bring up the finances. We don't you just look at Spurs. Even look at us compared to the likes of Brighton, the likes of West Ham. In terms of that period of time, we were so wishy-washy. One good season, one bad season, maybe fourth one season, eighth one season, fifth. So we were an absolute mess, and I don't think I've ever seen a club claiming to be a top club be in such a mess for the course of 3-4 years. However, I believe that we have fixed. We've seen what that mess was, and we've gone. We can't continue to operate like that, and we've decided that we're going to operate in a different way. We're not going to do this scattergun approach of spending hundreds of £1 million on these players, who are just who are just there for the manager. I know Ange Postecoglou said that he signs off on the players, but I don't think we bring in players that don't fit the philosophy of the football club. That's why you get in the
What's the philosophy?
I am not privy to the conversations that Johan Lange, Scott Munn, the technical side of the football club have, but they will have a mold and a vision which doesn't actually even need to have Ange Postecoglou as part of that vision. That's the role of a technical director, that they curate a football club over the course of a 5, 6, 7 year period. I'm very well aware that my arguments right now are hopeful and not substantial. They don't have substance behind it. My whole point of arguing tonight is trying to suggest that the substance behind suggesting it's not I don't think someone can sit here and say it's not going to work. I don't think just like I can't sit here and tell you in good faith that it's going to work and we're going to win a Premier League title in 5 years' time. I don't think you can sit here in good faith and say we are not going to win the Premier League.
I can because Gary, in that time, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool will buy better footballers than us. So no matter how much you want to spin, listen, what I love that how calm you are. I love your approach to this. But the problem is, as I've said, it's all hope, right? Gary, at the end of the day, you win by buying quality footballers. You can put whatever plan you want in place. The teams that keep winning because they add quality. Now, first of all, so I just want to bring up a comment because Eugene's really annoyed me with a silly comment, right? No one's saying that our signings have been crap, but let's not pretend that other clubs only sign quality. No, not only sign quality, but you know what, Gary? Eugene. You know what? The difference is more often than not, they get it right. And more often than not, we get it wrong. And your last sentence makes no sense. They sign crap. They just have the money to replace them. I'm sorry, but Gary, surely you've even got to agree with me on this. I've just read out how much more we've spent than Liverpool. So we have money. We've spent 312 million more than Liverpool, Eugene. They've got it right. For some reason, you've got a bee in your bonnet about one player like Nunes or Szoboszlai. But these players keep being part of squads that win things because they're not as bad as what you make them out to be, right? This is the difference. If you look at all these clubs, right? Look at Man City. And Man City, we keep hearing all the time, right? We keep hearing all the time that Man City just spend. Have you seen how much money they actually make back as a football club as well? I just don't know what we're doing here. Eugene, you keep doing this. Sorry, I know this isn't you, but Eugene keeps doing this. Oh, other clubs. I get it. If we're talking about Villa, Newcastle, but we're talking about successful football clubs that get it right more often than not. And the problem is, Gary, if I bring this back to you, I've just proved again, we've spent money. But you know what? We keep doing what you said. And again, sorry, hang on. Not all Liverpool fans, Eugene. I speak to Liverpool fans who love Darwin Núñez. Yeah, they want him to be a little bit more fruitful in front of, a little bit more frugal in front of goal, but they love so much more that he brings to the game. Yeah? You watch that boy run the channels. You watch him. He can play through the channels. He can hold the ball up. He's good in the air. He just needs to sort a bit of his shooting out, but his stats are actually very good, Eugene. So again, I'll ask you this. How have Liverpool done it with less money recouped, less money spent? Why are they winning things then? Why are they winning everything in the last 5 years and Spurs don't? Why? And I'll tell you why. It's because they don't go into these silly data-led approaches. These clubs buy what they need. Last year, Gary, what happened when Liverpool, their midfield, what did they do?
What did they do? They brought in Szoboszlai, Endo, tried to get Caicedo. They went full out for Caicedo, put in a bid of over £100 million for him.
My point is this, Gary, is that they needed a whole new midfield. They went out and got a whole new midfield, right? And you know what I love about what they've done? They've got a brand new midfield, plus they've got youngsters that still get game time, right? And I just want to put one more thing out there. Sorry, you might need to go. I want to put one more thing out there. For all the people like you, Gary, that tell me this is about the youngsters and the plan and the process. Last season, do you know where Spurs finished in the youth table for giving players 20 and under game time that have come through the academy?
Me? Probably very low. I can't name any.
Right.
Probably
We came 19th.
Yeah.
We came 19th, right? To give you some context, Liverpool's, we came 19th. Mikey Moore had about 3 minutes. I think between Moore and Donnelly, it was something like 17 minutes they had between them. I think Scarlett had about 54 minutes, right? In that time, Liverpool's 20-year-old players and under played 4,799 minutes. So not only do they buy better than us, they produce better than us and play their kids. Man United had something like 5,400 minutes from their 19, 18, 20-year-old players. So when I keep hearing that we're doing it differently, we're going down this path of youth, but the pitch doesn't show that. They're not playing. We keep bigging up these kids. We're going for a different route. We're going to go down this young route, but none of them play. None of them play. So we're not only worse than these bigger clubs when it comes to buying quality, we're worse than them when it comes to actually blooding our youngsters as well. So this is why, forgive me when I say I can't understand where this is the route we're going down with kids to build and grow them. The manager shown last year, he doesn't play them. He doesn't play them.
In terms
Gary.
of with that statistic, it was youngsters from the academy, wasn't it? So youngsters that come through the academy under the age of 20 who had got minutes. So that's not going to include the likes of Destiny or Doggy. I think he's the only. In all honesty, I think he'd be the only one.
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked.
No, that was just me making sense.
Fully fledged.
That was just me making sense of that statistic. And Postecoglou, I don't think he even lies. He's come out and said that he doesn't think that the production line at Spurs is good enough, and I'm sure he looks at the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Man United, at the players they're producing that come straight into the squad. This 5-year plan, including youth, I'm basing it off of the youth we're bringing in, not the youth we're producing at the academy. And even the likes of Will Lancashire was brought in.
Yep.
I think he's ready to be on the bench, nothing more than that for Spurs at the moment.
Can I ask what that's based on?
I watched a lot of under 21s football. I pretty much watched every single game last season that I could.
Okay.
So based on watching him last season, I think he's a better player than Alejo Velez, for example, already. But
can I just show you something really quickly? You something?
Yeah, go ahead.
See, look at the difference between a proper club that want and have ambition, Gary, and Tottenham Hotspur. Liverpool remain confident to sign Martin Zubimendi, and apparently Real Sociedad have accepted that he is going to accept their proposal. We're signing Gray and Bergvall. Can you see the difference, Gary, as to why we won't catch these football teams? Surely you see that. Gray for 40 million, they're going to get Zubimendi for 60, and Zubimendi is top class.
I would like Zubimendi at Spurs, but he wouldn't come to Spurs.
Why?
He turned down Arsenal and Bayern Munich this window.
Sure,
so if you're not going to Arsenal, you're not going to Spurs at the right now, because Arsenal are a better football club.
Arsenal are a better Liverpool.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Better than Arsenal. Arsenal better than Liverpool, aren't they?
I can't tell you why he's choosing Liverpool. If it could still fall through. If he's choosing Liverpool, if he's choosing Liverpool,
see my point.
But we're not Arsenal, Liverpool, Bayern Munich. We're none of them. He's turned down. But you
think we're going to challenge? You think we're going to challenge within the next 5 years by buying Bergvalls and Grays? Look at who these clubs are buying.
I hope we are in the position in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, to then go out and get our Declan Rice, get our Erling Haaland, get our Mohamed Salah. Get our.
Have you ever seen Levy do it?
No, I haven't seen Levy go out and get it.
Right.
But
So it's based on hope, isn't it?
I've never gone away from the fact it's based. Everything I've said has been based on. I've never gone away from that fact. I am hopeful, and I am joyfully hopeful. I'm excited to watch us play football. Genuinely, I'm very excited to watch us against Leicester. I'm joyfully hopeful that in 3 years' time, we will be the club that identifies the player. We've built that foundation. We've built that core, and we'll be that club to go out and buy the player that we need. If we're not at that stage in 3 years' time, something has gone wrong, and I will have to hold my hands up and say, I am wrong.
But Gary, in 3 years' time, you will have another excuse, like most of the fans. This is the problem. There's no. I could understand it, right? If Spurs had this master plan that you're pretending that we've got, and it is pretending because you've got no way of knowing, right? There's no evidence to suggest there's a plan, right? When Spurs made Timo Werner their first signing of the window, Gary, all of us experienced Spurs fans went, well, that sets the tone for the window. That's what we're about. We couldn't find anyone better than Timo Werner to bring in. Like, that is embarrassing. That's truly, truly embarrassing, right? Then we add to that 2 kids, right? And by the way, so Ben, I've completely listened to his stance, right? But I'm just going back on it with facts. We can keep talking about feelings. This is the difference, Gary. Liverpool finished. Where did Liverpool finish? 3rd, right? And everyone says Liverpool need a number 6 to close that gap with City and Arsenal. Now, I'm not guaranteeing they will, but look who they're going out and signing to make that happen. Look who they're actually going and attempting. If they don't pull it off, they don't. But I fail to believe a club as big as Liverpool will not pull off that deal unless someone bigger comes in for him, right? That's what they're doing, Gary, to close gaps. We're buying Bergvals and Greys and saying in 3 years they're going to be brilliant. First and foremost, Gary, you and the scouts and no one knows how they'll develop in 3-4 years' time. None of us do. All this nonsense about players' ceilings, we don't know. We've seen a million players that were brilliant at 18 that never made it, right? These clubs are going and buying what they need for now. For now. And that's the difference between being a club with aspirations and being a club that Daniel Levy's created that fans, no offence, like you and others, love. We love a plan. We love a project. Gary, I'm going to tell you right now, you say that I can't categorically say it won't work. I bloody can. I've seen it for 24 years. I bloody can. You will not catch City, Arsenal. You might catch one of them if they have an off year. But consistently, you will not catch those clubs when you're signing Werner, Gray, Bergvall, Solanke, and these other clubs are signing top quality footballers. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I'm sorry. No one can give me evidence of a club that's ever done it.
What you could say is that you learn from having your heart broken. I haven't had my heart broken yet by Spurs.
You must have. You said you supported them for 17 years.
I'm a kid. I was growing up as a kid. Like it's the case where I'm fully invested in this project, in this plan, and I have put my faith in it, and I do believe. Let's put it like this, and this might recontextualize it. And I don't think I'm coming up with excuses. I'm not trying to excuse what's happened in the past. I fully agree. What's happened in the past there is no excuse for it. With the current ownership model, with the way the club has been run, and that's not changing. The way the club has been run financially, not the football operations, but financially, the business model of the club is not going to change with the current ownership model. How do I see my football club winning something in 5 years' time? I know we're not going to go out and buy Zubimendi. I know we're not going to go out and buy Declan Rice, buy Rodri. I know that the way we do it is if we go out and get someone before they are a Declan Rice, before they are a Zubimendi. That's how I see that. That's how I see the path to success.
But that doesn't win you titles. That creates a very good player that you then sell on that doesn't win you titles, Gary.
And then, but then the title comes when you're in year 3. That's when you go out and buy that. If we've got 150 million pound budget for the window, that's when you go out and buy that 100 million.
Gary, you've just said, but you're contradicting yourself. You've just said in this very same sentence, right, that isn't Daniel Levy's model. That's not how we do things. Daniel Levy's never going to go out and go, oh, we've got a good team now. Let me go and drop it on 3 top players. You're old enough to have seen the Poch team.
Yeah, that's the team that made me fall in love with football.
Right. So look how good the 11 for Poch was. Did Spurs go and build?
That nearly broke my heart. That nearly broke my heart. Seeing how good we were, and the likes of Dele Alli have come out. I think I don't know who else. Players on that team came out and said they were 1 or 2 players away from doing something significant. Everyone knew it.
And what did Levy do?
And Levy saw that team and he said, "That's a very good football team. It doesn't need anything. That's a very good football team. It doesn't. That can win the title."
Gary, I don't know how many times I have to tell you I've seen that in the 24 years that Daniel Levy's been here. But your argument is that in 3 years' time, we'll be in a position where Daniel Levy suddenly goes, yeah, there's my 100 million Declan Rice. He don't work like that, mate.
It's if we were to get to the stage of being that football club, if we were to get to the stage of being able to go and get our Declan Rice, we haven't and this isn't an excuse for Daniel Levy. In 2015, we didn't have the finances to go out and get our Declan Rice.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did, Gary. Look, again, it is excuses.
But
Gary,
but it's the case where if we were to do it, if in 3 years' time, we've built this team becomes like that Pochettino team, and becomes like our next Pochettino, and everything fits and everything clicks, and we are 1 or 2 players away from doing something significant, and we don't, that will break my heart. That will.
But Gary, do you know the difference between me and you? The difference between me and you is I'm giving you facts and evidence that this has all happened before. Nothing's changed. You're trying to convince me that things behind the scenes have changed.
No. I'm not trying. I don't think there is convincing you. I'm just trying to say it.
But no, Gary, you can't, because there's no evidence.
I know there's no way.
It's the same way when you try to convince me earlier on in the show that the Spurs players have learned how to play the system now, when all of the games we watch prove that's completely incorrect and we can't defend, right? But fans go, oh, it's different now. The same way that people told me he was going to try new things in pre-season to try and protect the back 4. He's not done that. The problem is, Gary, in 3 years, do you think Ange Postecoglou will be here in 3 years?
I think you know what my answer is going to be. I hope
you think he will, don't you?
I hope he will be.
Right. Okay.
I think if it clicks this season, he will be here. But that's if it clicks, and it has to be ifs, but ifs. Because there isn't anything of substance to tell me he won't be here. There's nothing to say he will not be the manager.
But Gary, again, no disrespect, but again, there is. Gary, for some reason, you hate looking at data, right? For someone who likes a data-led approach, you hate looking at the actual data and how this football club is run. How many managers have made it 5 seasons?
With this football club?
With Levy? 1. And that's because he was getting us to finals. He got us to a Champions League final, right? And then he was sacked. What on earth do people think that... I'll be surprised if Postecoglou's the manager in a year. His tactics are going to see him sacked if he does not change.
That's getting into how we view Postecoglou as a manager, what we think.
Part of will he be here in 3 years? That's part of the conversation.
And that's why I had to caveat it with if it clicks. It has to be if it clicks, because if it doesn't click, we're conceding 70, 80 goals next season. It's going to just get worse and worse and worse. And I'm well aware of the fact that I think this could be a very great season where we go on and win the Europa League.
Okay, right.
I'm equally aware. I think it could happen. Equally, I'm aware that it could be an awful season where we concede 70, 80 goals and we're back to square one. I am aware.
Can I ask you a question? Again, statements like that. So far tonight, these are things factually you've said to me tonight. One, you believe we could go and win the Europa League. Two, that you believe players like Romero and Van der Ven will still be here in 5 years, even if we've not won anything. Romero and Van der Ven will be here. Right? Hang on. You believe that this data-led approach. You believe that in year 3, 4, and 5 that we'll start backing Ange the way that Arteta was backed by the Arsenal owners. Right? All of the evidence shows that this is completely not how the football club is run. But I've got you coming on and telling me, yeah, it will. And I get it. I know you like to use the word hope and belief, and I know that every football fan needs belief. But the difference is we're coming out and saying things like, I think we're going to win the Europa League. Tottenham Hotspur have signed. You do. You think we can win the Europa League?
I think we could win the Europa League, yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you how when every team seems to open us up like a can of worms?
It has to click.
No, that's not an answer. That's not that, Gary. That's not an answer. That's a wishy-washy. Give me a football answer.
But the football has there's not been a single professional kick of a football yet. So like I don't know how I can give you a football answer when no football has been kicked yet. If I see the start of the season where we 10 games into the season and we look horrible and nothing's changed, obviously then I'm going to sit there and like, well, I don't think we're going to win the Europa League.
Okay, has he changed anything pre-season?
I've given you my thoughts on what
okay, but the thing is that's not your faults. I'm asking for facts, not your faults. Has he changed anything pre-season?
Have we been in a position where...
Has he changed anything pre-season?
I don't think that's a simple
the
yes.
Is no.
From what we've seen, but but that's from what we've seen. He might be the type of manager, and why I say from what we've seen, because they do work behind the scenes where no one sees. He might be the type of manager.
We see it on the pitch, Gary. It's what they do on the pitch. Stop again. I'm asking you, in the pre-season games, have we seen a different style of football? Have we seen any tactical changes? Any tactical, has he tried to do anything different in all of the pre-season games, all of last season, other than the one game v Man City? Have we seen this guy change a thing to try and make us more difficult to beat? Have we seen it?
We haven't seen, but we're talking about pre-season. No.
But pre-season, Gary, pre-season is where you do it.
But we haven't changed. Tactically, we haven't changed anything in pre-season so far. So far,
we've got one game left.
But we may be in a position, and it has to be maybe, because I'm not going to sit here and say on the first game of the season we're going to change this tactic. On the first game of the season we're going to change that tactic. We might see against Bayern Munich a slight tactical change.
We won't.
Game.
You know we won't. Why you're doing it to yourself? When we start that game on Saturday, it's going to be wide open in midfield. Every single time they attack us, we're going to shit our pants. And still, fans like you will come after the game and go, oh, but maybe they're working on something in training. Come on. For once, Gary, can we say what we see and not what we feel? Please.
But
has he tried a single thing different?
So far, no, we haven't. I've said what I've seen. So far, he hasn't.
Gary, there's one game left.
We haven't seen what they're doing behind the scenes. We have.
Gary, I've worked at a professional football club. Let me tell you something, my friend. There is not a chance that behind the scenes on the training ground, they're trying something new and then in a game not doing it. That's not how life works. Come on. If they're trying something behind the scenes, they would show and try and implement it into the game.
It could be the case where what they're trying to implement they can't do it without Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero.
Right, okay. But Gary, that makes no sense.
That could be the case.
But Gary, again, listen, I don't know if you were born with excuses. This is ridiculous. The problem with Tottenham, if you look at the last game, the problem wasn't that Van der Ven and Romero weren't there. Our best two players in the last game were Davis and Dragashin. They were the best two players. The problem is the midfield and the transition giving it away. The problem is no one protecting the back four, right? Whether we have Van der Ven or Romero, we saw all last season that doesn't change how he plays, right? That doesn't change how he plays. I don't understand. What do Spurs fans need to see before they go, yeah, something's got to change?
I'm never going to sit here and say it's not excuses. It's not excuses, because it's not, because I'm not saying, I'm not seeing a bad result and saying the only excuse I've brought out is the fitness thing, and I do think the fitness had an impact on some of our
45 minutes a game.
I think
how unfit are they? They're playing 45 minutes a game.
But that's the only excuse that I'm willing to bring out, the fitness. And I think Ange Postecoglou even said brought the fitness side of it as well. But in terms of how I see us changing going forth into the season, it's not an excuse to say I don't know, and they might be doing stuff behind closed doors. It's me saying it's me.
You don't do things behind closed doors, Gary, and then not implement it in pre-season on the pitch. That you realise that makes no logical sense. You realise that,
but it might not be ready to implement into a pre-season game. It might not be.
Gary, what are you talking about?
I think talking about pre-season is a moot point, because
it's not a moot point. Gary, it's not. This is when players. Sorry, hang on again. West Coast. I'm not beyond rude. Yeah, but again, it's these things are staring us in the face. West Coast. He's an Ange fan. I can tell you that straight away, right? The thing is, Gary,
I'm a Spurs fan, not an Ange fan.
Not you. This guy.
Oh, sorry.
This guy is an Ange fan, not you. This guy, I can tell from his name, right? This is not. Footballers don't go to the training pitch and they go, right, we're going to work on this. Then get to a game and the manager goes, right, everything we've been learning in pre-season, don't do it. Gary, that is not the real world. That is not how football clubs work. And if you're saying, right, that it's not ready to implement yet, they've had all pre-season. So what are we doing?
But my main point has been I'm not willing to see how Ange has operated in pre-season and make a point that he's not going to change his tactics in the actual season where it matters. That's my point. That's why it seems so pointless for me to argue the case of pre-season. That's why I'm not even really.
Okay.
I've not even
last season.
And the last season point, Ange Postecoglou said it himself. It came out of his mouth that he doesn't want to divert away from his tactics because last season, because
right.
he didn't want the players to have that mentality where if things are going tough, we sit back. That's why he didn't want to do it. He wanted to be unrelenting with his tactics. That I'm not saying. Not me. I'm saying this is what's come out.
Yeah, but you've just proved yourself wrong.
No, and I'm talking about last season. I'm not talking about next season. I'm talking about last season. This is that's how he wanted to operate in the season. I'm so sure that Ange Postecoglou is well aware if he adapted his tactics slightly, we will be playing Champions League football this season. I'm so sure he's aware of that. I'm sure that there was the Wolves game is a perfect example. If instead of sending our fullbacks forward, if he decided with what we conceded 2 goals in the last 5 minutes, whatever it was, if we just, you know what, let's not be unrelenting and let's sit back a little bit, we would have won that game. We're playing Champions League football. He is. Ange Postecoglou's unrelenting in changing his tactics.
Right. So you've answered your question. So Gary,
I'm talking about last season. I'm talking about last.
I don't care. You've answered your own question. Right. Postecoglou will not change.
No, right? Postecoglou did not change in his first season. Did not change in his first season.
Okay.
And he had a reason for that.
No, he didn't have a reason for that. That's nonsense.
He said whether you're more than entitled to think it was an awful reason.
Sure, Gary.
But
Gary,
he came out with a reason.
Sure, I know he did, Gary. I know he did. But listen to what you're saying. You're giving him the excuse. This is what he said. He doesn't change in the season.
It's not an excuse. It's
right?
not an excuse.
It is, right?
No,
Gary, managers change and adapt, right?
But I'm saying what he said.
Yes, I'm not
excusing it.
I'm trying to respond, Gary. I'm trying to respond. So in year one, the excuse from Postecoglou is we're not going to move away from what we do, from our relentless style of play. No matter how many goals we concede, we're going to keep doing this. First of all, that's the man you think that's going to be here in 3 to 5 years to lead the project. Listen to how crazy that is. Then your excuse for pre-season is he's not going to do it in pre-season, but he will in his second season. So the manager doesn't want to move and adapt during an actual season, then doesn't want to move and adapt during a pre-season when he's got all his players and lots of games to try out these new tactics. But I'm led to believe that now suddenly we'll get to the season and we'll go, right, he's going to adapt. You realise none of that makes sense.
But that's not what I've said.
That's exactly what you said.
But
that's exactly what you said.
And that's why I didn't really want you to say that, because that is putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying he's going to change and he hasn't. And and you know me, I never will say he's going to do this, he's going to that, he will do this, he will do that, he will do this, he will do that. I am saying I don't know what he's going to do next season. That is my point. I don't know if he's going to change.
You do know what he's going to do next season. It's going to be more of the same.
And there's no way for me to win this argument right now. On the 7th of August, 2024, there is not a single way for me to win this argument. There isn't, because I've told you and I've told chat, I'm sitting here with nothing to substantiate anything.
We all know you're sitting here with nothing to substantiate.
But I've said that off the bat, that this is something I am talking about, what I think could happen, what I have the belief will happen. I have the belief that it will happen.
Right. Okay. Essentially, this is all belief. You believe we're stronger. You believe he'll adapt. You believe he'll be here in 5 years. You believe that Romero and Van der Ven will be here in 5 years.
But that's not exactly what the Romero and Van der Ven thing wasn't. I said
they'll be here in 5 years.
I believe, and because you didn't let me. When we were speaking about it back then, you didn't let me expand on the point.
Don't need to. Will they be here in 5 years or not? It's a really simple question.
I think we've got, if Romero goes when he's 28, I believe we'll be in a position to replace him adequately, or Dragusin will come in and replace him adequately.
That wasn't the question I asked.
But saying I believe that
you said that. Everyone heard you say it. I said,
because you didn't let me answer the question in a different way.
Oh God, this is infuriating. Simple question: will Romero be here when he's 31 in 5 years? You said yes.
Because, and I'm getting frustrated. But now I'm getting frustrated because you're trying to lead me into an answer, then making a point based on that answer that you led.
No, I'm not. I asked a simple question, Gary.
At the stage when if he leaves when he's 29, for example, it doesn't matter when he leaves.
Of course, it matters.
I believe
you said he's here for the 5-year project.
I believe that when we get to the stage where we have to replace Romero, we will be able to replace Romero. It's based off of what we're trying to build in this project. So if it gets to the stage where at 29 Romero says, I am done, I'm leaving, we can go just like Pep Guardiola. And I know it's hard to compare.
The moment you talk about Pep Guardiola and Tottenham.
No, but it's because I'm talking about a quote that Pep Guardiola said. I'm not necessarily.
Sure. What did Pep say?
Pep said that we're not a club where if a player doesn't want to leave, that if a player wants to leave, we don't let them leave. We let our players leave. Hopefully, we are in a position in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time, where if a player wants to leave, we have the confidence to replace him.
And that's going to happen by keep buying kids.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he leaves at that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if he leaves at 28, 29, 30, 31.
Can I ask a question? How long did it take us to replace Walker?
This isn't. We're not talking.
No. I'm not, Gary. Again, listen. Stop with the politicians' answers. I don't know if you do politics or a lawyer or whatever. How long did it take to replace Walker? It's a very simple question.
Where the outcome, however,
no, it's a very simple question. But how long did it take?
However long it took, I don't know off the top of my head.
Right, years and years and years and years and years, and even now.
But I've said that we've changed since. I've said we've changed since then.
Hang on, and even then. Even now, we've got Porro who can't defend anywhere near like Walker can. How long did it take us to replace Danny Rose?
This is such a moot point because I think
it's not. But no, it's not.
I
Gary.
think we've changed since then.
So Gary, we haven't. Gary, and
I've also said. I also said Walker left in 2017, 2016. Rose started his decline started in around 2016, 2017. I've sat live on this show and said the years of 2017 to around 2019, 2020 were awful. We were run awfully and we were an awfully run.
And we're run awfully now.
And I've said that live. So there is quite literally no point bringing up Kyle Walker, Danny Rose. You can name these players. I agree with you. I think it was awful.
Gary,
I agree
Gary,
with you.
Do you know what you hate? Do you know what you hate, Gary? This is the problem. When you live in the clouds, do you know what people who live in the clouds hate? Right? They hate facts and evidence. Right? Tottenham have not changed. We sold Harry Kane last year, 12 months ago, and have not replaced him. Right? So you're saying, don't worry, Romero can go, somebody else will come in. Literally last summer, it didn't happen. Literally last summer, Gary, it did not happen. This Tottenham that you've built up in your head is so far removed from the way Daniel Levy runs the club. I don't understand. I would love to think that when Romero goes, we go, boom, we've got a brilliant player to come in. But we won't, because even if Dragoshin steps in for that, by the way, he could be a first-team player by then. You've then got to backfill Dragoshin. This is what Tottenham aren't good at. This is what we've never been good at, right? But this is the point. Solanke, one, isn't replacing Kane. He's not even fit to wear his shoes about replacing Kane. Second of all, it's 12 months too late. So again, this is the thing, Gary. Everything you're saying, I'm bringing back. We don't do that. We haven't done that. We're not doing it now. Your answer is we will be able to do it, but it's based on nothing.
I have said consistently. I am well aware that talking about something in the future isn't based off of, it doesn't have substance. It doesn't have the substance. It doesn't have the substance that would make you happy. It doesn't have the substance. I'm well aware. I've come onto this show and I'm well aware that I am never going to change your point of view. I'm not coming in here to try.
But do you know why you couldn't change my point of view, Gary? Because so far, any question I've asked you, whether it's about Levy, whether it's about Postecoglou, whether it's about transfers, whether it's about style of play, every single thing you answer is about, but we don't know what's happening in the future. We know how the club is run.
The football questions, when the football questions can be answered when the proper football starts.
I'm questions can be answered now.
I'm happy to look at how we've played against Leicester. Look at how we've played against, I don't know, I can't remember who the second.
I fully expect us to smash Leicester. That's not
fine.
The barometer isn't Leicester. Stop doing that, Gary. Because what you're going to do will batter Leicester.
I'm talking about how we play. I'm talking about how we play, not about.
Shouldn't matter. Leicester should not be an issue.
When we play Arsenal third game of the season, I think it is. Then we can see how we play against Arsenal.
No, because last year we played well against Arsenal in the first 5-10 games, then we fell apart.
But we played against Arsenal when we hadn't been found out. We have been found out now. We had been found out.
Crazy.
Let's see how we change. But it's talking about how we change. We're talking about how we change.
It's an excuse for everything.
But it's not an excuse.
Let's
see. We've planted a tree. Let's see.
But this is the thing we'll never agree on, Gary. This nonsense that is different. You do realise this is what Spurs have been doing for 24 years under Levy. Nothing is different. You know, we've always been buying young players like Bergvall and Gray and hoping. This isn't new. I know that fans like you are trying to convince yourself that this is new. Bergvalls, the Grays, the Yangs. We've always done that. We've always done this. This isn't new, Gary. This is not new. What we are not doing is adding the quality to go with them, Gary.
We have got, is it 23 days left of the window? 23 days. In those 23 days, we may be, because I am not going to sit here and tell you it's going to happen. I'm not going to do it.
Gary, I'm ending the show. I can't. Gary, I can't. Next time, if anyone ever offers to debate me, please come on with some facts. The feelings are just, this is why, Gary, I'm going to be honest, this is why other fans laugh at our fan base. Because you've just sat here, you've given me 3 hours, and I've given you 3 hours, hour after hour after hour, to give me an answer to something. And you would be a brilliant lawyer because you have not answered a single thing tonight with any evidence of anything, right? We can't, we're tired in pre-season. We can't implement anything in pre-season. Last year's form, Ange said he didn't want to change the football. We've got a stronger squad because of 2 kids, right? In 3 years' time, Daniel Levy will go, there's your Declan Rice, it's absolutely crazy how we have to watch the same thing year after year after year with the same owner, and still people come in and have this opinion. And I get that it's all about opinions, but at what point will the penny drop? At what point do the facts actually have to overtake the feelings? This is what I don't get. There's no evidence of a single thing that you've said tonight.
But that, and look, we're not gonna agree. We're not even gonna get close to a degree.
How can we agree? I'm waiting for some evidence. Mate, do you know what? When someone wants to debate me, bring some evidence that makes me go, actually, yeah, that did happen.
In all fairness, and I have to stand up for myself here. I asked 6 hours ago, what is the debate? What are we debating? What's the argument? What is the and you didn't want to say.
Gary. I said Tottenham, right? You said about the process, the plan. You said we're building. We've talked about all of that, Gary. And so far, you've given me nothing. Even when you were talking about your man Solanke, you had an excuse for every single bad season he's ever had.
Just because you disagree with what is brought with Solanke, I've said to you, I've explained why he fits the, or at least I tried to explain what I could get in. I tried to explain what he brings to the system compared to the other strikers, and why it's not fair to bring up a 19, 20, 21-year-old Dominic Solanke to water down his stats.
What about when he was 25 and scored 6 goals in a season?
Put that season into context. They went through 2.
But you see what I mean, Gary?
It's putting a season into context.
Harry Kane has played in teams that have had 3 managers in a season and scored 30 plus goals.
Harry Kane is the best. I think he's the best.
Right, so Solanke's that bad he can only get 6 during transitional season.
We're not talking about Harry Kane.
No, we're not.
We're not. Yeah, no, we're not. But I don't. If we were talking about Isak, I don't think he's anywhere near Harry Kane. Let alone Dominic Solanke. I am not going to sit here and try to argue that he is.
But your excuse for him scoring 6 goals in a season is that they had different managers.
I said it was a transitional season.
Oh, God.
But you're seeing the fruits of him. But you're seeing the fruits of him this season. You're seeing the fruits last season. You saw how he improved as a footballer. I would also rather bring in a footballer who's on an upward trajectory in his career, just like I would like to bring in Ollie Watkins, just like I would like to bring in Gyökeres, just like there are so many footballers that I could name who I think would be good fits for our team. I believe Solanke is a very good fit for our team.
No, I get it. But
and the substance behind that is the pressing stats. He was by far and away
I'm not disagreeing with this. I'm not disagreeing. This wasn't my point.
That's the substance. That's the substance out of the Solanke. But the arguments that we're talking about in terms of Tottenham's plan, you have to look at where we are as a football club. What is realistic for what we're going to do? How can we bridge the gap? I think we've identified this plan as the way that we bridge the gap between us and Man City, and it's not going to happen next season. It's not going to happen. We're going to be nowhere near Man City next season. We're not going to be anywhere near Arsenal next season. I can say that with certainty. I can't say that for 100%.
No, hang on. Earlier.
I said it can't. I can't say that with 100% certainty. It's not because no one can say that.
Gary, can I be honest? I need to be really honest.
But you cut me off every time I try to make a point. You cut me off, and then I've been letting you.
Gary, you haven't made any points
because it's impossible to make a point if I speak for a minute. You cut me off, and then you speak for 5
Gary,
minutes.
Because you're in that minute, you're not making a point. Do you know what? Everyone can hear. Gary, everyone can hear excuse. You've got an excuse for everything.
But the point, but it's not explaining a reason isn't necessarily an excuse. The reason behind us pivoting to Dominic Solanke towards the end of the window is a reason that it could have happened. It's a reason.
I'm not debating this. I don't know why you're going over this.
I'm going over it because it is a point that we brought up in the debate between us two. It's a point we brought up, both of us, and I gave you a reason. I can give you reasons for what has happened, and I can give you reasons for why I believe something is going to change. I think the structure of the football club, the football operations of the football, and I'm going to get to the stage where I'm actually not going to let you interrupt me whilst I'm making my points. The structure of the football club has changed in the last 2 seasons. It clearly has. We brought in technical directors. We've brought in a head of footballing operations. Daniel Levy is also taking a step back from football operations. That is all facts. That has happened. That is substantial. That has happened, and we're trying to bring in players who fit the system of how we want to play. Dominic Solanke. No, let's forget about Timo Werner. No. For a second. I made the point that Timo Werner actually does, to a degree, fit the system, and his stats would have looked a lot better last season if you took into account the goals that he forced through own goals. They don't count as assists. So when you're looking at his season through statistics, they do not count as assists. But I think Timo Werner is coming in off the bench. He's going to be a bench role so that we can push Heung-min Son out to the left, bring in Dominic Solanke down the middle, bring in another right winger on the right-hand side. That increases our attack, increases our ball retention up in the final third, stops us being so susceptible to that transition. I think we have put faith in the likes of Archie Gray to be a success early on in his career. Whether that faith is justified or not, we cannot tell you this right now. We have to tell you it during the season. We have made mistakes as a football club. We have made many mistakes as a football club in the period of 2011 to 2015, 2015 to 2016, 2015 to 2020. We're in a period where there is no way we can say with 100% certainty whether this pivot in terms of how the football club is run as a football club, how the operations are run as the footballing operation is going to bear fruit. The only way you know if it's going to bear fruit is in 5 years' time. We can sit and debate. I can sit here and say the football operations.
All right, that's that.
But this is what you've been doing to me. And anytime I open my mouth, you say, but you said this, but you said that. I am just standing my ground.
But we've gone on for a very long time now.
I've gone on for 2 minutes. I've been timing it. 2 minutes. You've had monologues that have been going on for 5 minutes. And it's easy to paint someone as someone who doesn't have it's easy to paint the picture as someone being deluded, someone not having the facts, someone doesn't have this, when you've got the people in your chat who are backing you up and making you feel as though
I don't need people in my chat to back me up, mate.
But it's very easy to paint someone as not having a clue when you don't let them speak.
Oh my God, Gary, you spoke. We've been speaking for 3 hours.
And in those 3 hours, you've probably spoken for an hour of that, and I've spoken for 2 hours of that, and I've spoken for an hour of that.
Gary, right.
And I understand it's your channel. And I understand it's your channel. And I understand that I'm sitting, and the only reason I haven't try to exert any authority in this debate is because you're sitting there with probably hovering over the kick me out. That you could have kicked me out of this debate at any
Why would
stage.
I kick you out? That's such a stupid thing to say. Why would I kick you out? You're losing credibility now, Gary, because you're waffling. Why would I kick you out?
But if I sat here and tried to give you a debate where I'm just sitting there like you're waffling, no, there's no facts. Those facts don't apply to now. I'm trying to.
But I think what me and others are waiting for, Gary, is facts, right?
But
let's be fair, right? Gary, you've made up that we'll see the fruits in 5 years. You've made up the 5-year number. Some of us have been sitting here for 24 years hearing, Gary, we hear fans like you every window. Do you get that? We hear fans like you every window that try and convince us, but we've got a new director of football, but we're scouting differently now, right? The fact you think Daniel Levy has stepped away is the biggest laugh of the night.
Football operation.
The pattern of this transfer window is the same as every other transfer window, Gary. I've heard before, Paratici's in, Levy's stepping away. Nope. Right? Scott Munn's here now, Lange's here now, he's stepping away. Gary, you're making these things up to make yourself feel better. You've decided that it's 5 years from 2024, but we signed players like Romero 3 years ago. So why is it now? Why is it 5 years from now? Why did we decide it's 5 years from now? Why is it not 5 years from 3 years ago? Why do you get to decide when this project ends? The problem is, Gary, I've heard this, and I'm going to say it now, right? I've been nice this whole show, right? I'm going to say it. You've come here with zero facts. Zero. Everything you say, feelings. I believe, and that's fine. But you can't pass your beliefs off as fact. What I've done is given you 24 years of evidence that this is how Tottenham operate. You choose not to believe it because of this delusion that something's going to happen. 24 years of evidence, Gary, shows you. This transfer window shows you. Even if we bring in Solanke, this is no different to a normal Tottenham window. This is what we do. We bring in 2 to 3 kids. We bring in one crap player like Timo Werner. We bring in one player like Solanke, who everyone's going to overrate because he's had one good year. That's what we do. This is Levy's MO. This is Tottenham's MO. Nothing has changed. So stop talking about fruit. Stop telling me I need 5 years and I need hypotheticals. There is no facts to anything you're saying. Nothing has changed. Nothing. This data-led model is crap because when I say, well, what about Timo Werner? There's an excuse for him as well. If there's a data-led model and Timo Werner is the guy they decided to sign twice, if there's a data-led model, right, and the best we could do across Europe was Bergvall, Gray, Yang, Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, Solomon, Ashley Phillips. If this is the best we can do with a data-led model, then nothing has changed, right? I'm sorry if you don't like my facts. I'm sorry if you feel that's abrupt. I'm sorry if you feel I've talked too much. But the difference is everything you have said is what we hear every year. I will get another one of you on in next year telling me the same thing. But Sava, it's different this year because we've got a new manager, because we've got a new director of football, because now this player's going to leave. There's even excuses for when Romero leaves. Oh, but if he leaves, we've got Dragoshin. When are we going to face it, Gary? The excuses of a youth project, the excuses of a data-led model are all to make yourself feel better because we're not signing quality players. We don't sign the quality required to catch the top 3. None of the top 3 are worried about us. We might finish above one of them every 3 or 4 years, but then they bounce back and win things. But we never actually buy quality. And all I've heard all night is excuses as to why we can't be better defensively, why we can't buy better footballers. It's just excuse. And my patience has got, I did it for 3 hours, but the excuses are just mind-boggling at this stage. Excuse, like, oh, when he's backed like Arteta was. It's like, do you know Daniel Levy? Sorry, mate, look, we can end it there. But at the end of the day, it's got to be more than feelings. And I was told all of this last year. At what point last year at any point did you think we could win the league?
Any point last year did I think we're going to win the league?
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. Why does it matter?
Well, why does it matter?
Why does that matter?
What do you mean? Why does that matter? For anyone that thought we were going to win the league at any stage last year, again, it's pure denial and delusion, isn't it? It's pure denial and delusion.
What does that bring? Like the issue that I've had with the way we've spoken is that anytime we start going along one trip, you bring up something that doesn't matter. Why does
Gary, I was just asking a question. I don't think how debates work. We can change course.
But the debate needs to have. What are we even arguing? And that's the point.
Tottenham.
I don't even. But what? How is that an argument? We're arguing. I am not a Daniel Levy sympathiser.
Yes, you are. Oh, you are, my friend, without knowing it.
That is so easy to say. I've been disgusted with how our football club was operated and I've labelled the years 2017, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 21, 20, 19, 20, parts of 21. I have seen a change in how we are approaching things. That's not an argument. I can't say.
Of course it is, because when I've asked you to evidence the change, you can't give me any.
I've listed positions in the football club that have changed. I've also told you
what's changed on the pitch.
The fruit
right there we go. The fruit again.
We're talking about how do we close the gap?
Yeah, by buying quality footballers, Gary.
How it's by having quality footballers, by having how you acquire those footballers. That it changes for every single team.
No, it doesn't.
How you acquire them, you can get them through your academy. That's not a bought footballer.
Oh my God!
There are different ways. You can buy someone who wasn't quality at the time you purchase them, and they become that quality footballer.
Yes, if you want to be Fulham, if you want to be Brentford, yes. We're talking about how do we close the gap to the big three, Gary.
How do we close?
How
do Spurs close the gap?
By buying quality. We're very rich, Gary.
Who is that quality player? Who's that quality? Who is it? We're not going to go out and buy 6 quality players this window. 6 top quality players this window.
No one's asked for 6.
But
so far, Gary, the window's been Werner and kids.
And we can go out and buy a quality striker, a quality winger, and a quality.
But we're not. We're buying Solanke.
And that argument has zero substance. Just like my argument isn't I have substance. My argument is you have no substance. There's no substance in what you're saying in terms of this window and this project. Saying that the ownership had projects in the past that failed doesn't mean that ownership can't have projects in the future that will succeed. The model that's being taken right now is the only way I see Tottenham Hotspur under this is
the same model, Gary, for the last 24 years.
I believe.
Tell me how it's different.
I can say this is different. No, it's not. I can say that's different. Oh, you're delusional.
But tell me how it's different. I've seen, Gary, I'm older than you. I've seen this for years, and years.
And I know that if I say how there's a massive difference between the Tottenham of old and the Tottenham of now, a massive difference. If I bring this up, you'll probably end the stream. We do
need to end in a minute because there's no evidence.
We have a cash cow of a stadium which is going to bear fruit. We have a cash cow.
Right, let's end the show now. You are a Daniel Levy sympathiser.
I'm not. Like, it's the difference between what has happened. You can't just ask me what's different. I say what's different. You say, oh, well I don't agree with that. It is.
Did you see my video this morning?
I was in the comment section, but
I literally gave you the facts from with the stadium and without it, and we've got worse with it.
But But I'm talking about fruit. If we were to buy,
Gary, guys, girls, I'm going to end the show. I can't hear more about fruit. This is pointless, Gary. I'm going to say it. You have the Tottenham Hotspur you deserve, right? listen, when this all goes wrong, as it normally does at Tottenham, because we're not buying quality footballers, please come back on and tell us how your plan went.
I'll put a note in my alarm in my calendar to come on a year from now. I'll do it. I'll happily do it, and I'll hold my hands up, and I'll say if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Thing is, I'm so happy to hold my hands up and say I was wrong.
Where are we finishing this season?
4th or 5th, maybe 3rd if we make a push. Between 5th and 3rd, maybe 3rd if we make a push. And you can't take me saying a maybe statement. We might finish here, but I think we're going to finish here. And then you twist it to say you think we're going to finish 3rd. Like I said, I think we could win the Europa League. You say, oh, you think we're going to win the Europa League? That's a different statement.
3rd. Okay, so maybe 3rd. Maybe 3rd.
Between 5th and 3rd. I don't think I don't think we go down. I don't think we get worse than last season. I also think we will have a good shot at winning the Europa League this season.
Based off of his tactics of how he gets battered by everyone, I agree with you.
Based off of how I think we're going to grow into the system this season, what we have the potential to do for the rest of the window.
Please stop. Please stop.
Please
stop, because again, the potential to grow into the system. What does that mean?
No, I said how we will grow into the system. I think that is a thing. We are growing into the system,
but we're not. The evidence
and the potential for the rest of the window.
But
I didn't even get to speak about the evidence that you brought up about the end of the season, because when I try bring that up, you then bring something else up and say I don't have evidence for that, and I try to bring up evidence about that, and then you bring up something else.
What evidence for the end of the season? Go on.
I've asked you, do you think Ange got found out by other managers? Yes. So does that means that it could be towards the second half? Yeah, because every time we talk about something, you touch on it, you say everything, no substance, no evidence, and then you move on. And then
you're about to ask me, is it that the players did their job but got found out, or the manager got found out?
I've just said. So you believe both happened at the same time, that the players were doing their job in the system, but the managers.
I don't think they were. I don't think they were.
You think they got worse at doing their job? You think it was a downward trajectory?
I don't think they got worse. All of the evidence shows me they got worse, Gary.
But the evidence how is that evidence that they got worse in the system if it's the case where the managers found the system out?
If the
other managers found the system out, if the other managers found out how to play against Ange Postecoglou, there is a world in which the players were still getting better at the system, but other managers figured out how to counteract. Yes, there is. That is just common logic. There is evidence to suggest that the players were still getting better in the system, but other managers figured out how to counteract that system. That is just common logic.
No, it's not common logic. I'll tell you what, Dale, come on. I love when people like this. Dale, I've followed Spurs around the world, spent thousands of pounds, supported them for 41 years. But because I'm giving truth about my club, you think I support Arsenal?
I believe that as well. I believe you love this football club so much.
I do.
I don't think there is any question of doubt as to how much you love this football club. I would like to think that there is no question of doubt that I spent 3.5 hours of my evenings talking about Tottenham Hotspur. I love this football club as well.
Of course you do.
And this is just a debate about how you view us making it to a trophy and how I view us making it to a trophy within the current structure of the football club. The only way I believe we win a trophy within the current structure of a significant trophy within the current structure of the football club is doing what we are doing. I also think if we were to change ownership and bring in someone who was a lot less tight with the purse strings, that we would be able to then go out and do the other model, which is go buy the players. But if we are to win a trophy, it's by doing what we are doing with the current owner. Whether it bears fruit or not, we will see.
Sure, but the difference is what you just said there. Daniel Levy isn't tight with the purse strings. We're just set up badly.
He's tight in the way that he doesn't want to spend £100 million on a player. He would rather spend 25
So
million.
he's not
before.
tight. It's mismanaged. But this goes back to everything. And I do need to end the show. But the thing is, Gary, this is it. For somebody that has turned around and said that things are different, that Daniel Levy's not in charge anymore, you've just hit the nail on the head
of
there.
the football operations, he's in charge of the business side.
He's in charge of everything. Gary. He's in charge of absolutely everything, which is why nothing changes. I'll tell you what. Let's see what happens with this fruit, guys. I really do want to thank Gary for coming on. Thank you to all the sensible people in the chat that just were nice. I don't know why when two people have a debate, I don't know why everyone's got to really go at one or the other person with such horrible things being said. Gary, listen, I really appreciate you coming on. It's just football, right? It's just football. Destiny 5
get heated as well.
Gary, I was you 10 years ago. I'm now 33. Same old shit. This is the thing. In 10 years, Gary, you'll get there, mate. You'll get there. And Ronnie has said, let's just keep the Discord respectful. Remember, these are overpaid grown men kicking a ball around. Yeah, listen, I agree. Look, at the end of the day, we'll see. Look, it's madness. Unfortunately, what you've seen tonight is the really bad side of the chat. You might think they all stick up for me, but some of the people, some of the abuse is just not on. Apologies to you, Gary, if any of them have said anything that is untoward. I think that is disgusting. Be embarrassed of yourself. Take care, everyone. Much love. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for subscribing. Take care. And as always, we're all Spurs fans. Come on, you Spurs.